thanks.
Oh, I better warm her up here in a little bit.
Not too bad in here.
Last name is Mchenry. Oh, that's Scottish. Is it? My grandpa was adopted. Mac is M-A-C. Is that Scottish? I don't know what name they gave me. MC is our good. It was a great weekend.
Yeah, it was. I was really surprised at how many people showed up.
Oh, last year was even worse than Penny, because it was warmer.
Oh,
But inside, I was staying all day.
yeah.
What's it say? Great weekend.
Good.
Where's Dan?
I had a surprise.
So far, I haven't seen anybody else but you and myself. I haven't seen, I don't know if Steve's here or not, maybe he's in the back.
Well,
And Mike, I don't know if he's coming later on, he wasn't in church yesterday.
no, and he wasn't at the
Thursday.
monthly meeting.
I know. So I don't know if he's had a setback or not.
It's probably because best weekend for all year. It doesn't pay for my liquor license, my gaming license, my insurance for all year. Till one day. It's that worse for me.
They did that Riverwalk.
That's what it has to be, but that's,
Shit.
they're not gonna do it this year. That's completely different. Because they're doing another point this year. Yeah, I can sell the building and then sell my business.
So, you do, you know. Hi, Robert.
Morning, Dan.
Another meeting where we won't get anything done. I'm so pleased to be here. Ed, am I sounding negative?
You didn't miss much.
Yeah, Eric.
Very disgusted.
I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, but you're kind of mumbling, so I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention.
Oh, that's good, because it was all negative.
Oh, okay.
And then there's Stan.
And there's me.
He wants to sign in?
That'd be a good idea.
Get that out of the way.
Hey, no, but it's Mark.
Hi, Jim.
Good morning.
Another one. They come quickly, don't they?
Today did. Today did. Because Ben, I didn't pay anything. The dentist?
You need to spend a lot of
He
money.
spends a lot of money on his pets.
Yeah, well, that way you keep them.
Does he give candy out?
And I get a free toothbrush too.
Yeah, I get $300 pens and I get with my name on it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, yeah, these pens ain't working up here either.
The what?
These pens ain't working.
They're not working?
One of them isn't, and one of them barely not working.
Well, what the hell, they worked last week.
They're 1 week pens.
Yeah. I don't know who steals all my pens. I had a ton of pens in here. Now they're
If
all.
I got one, it's by mistake, and I don't believe I have one. If you're looking at me, you're thinking about that.
No.
Are you just
No, no.
Are you just talking to good news? Huh? What are you talking?
I'm just rattling
He's
off.
looking straight at me. Where my pens are going.
You must have a few signs are outside, so
Very few.
yeah.
You have a guilty conscience.
It's not partisan, there's not much action. Oh, Mike's coming. He wasn't in church, I didn't think he'd be coming, so he must have picked him up.
Morning, Craig.
Morning.
You have more than one folder?
I sure do.
I could answer that question myself.
No problem.
When he said he got the wrong folder, I thought he got one of our folders. No. I wanted to answer my own question. I couldn't.
It's 9 o'clock. I'll start the meeting. I gotta get used to it. Next month I gotta do it anyways. I went out Saturday night, put my dog in the cage, come home. Guess who greeted me at the door? I mean, you little shit, how'd you get out of there?
All right, Mike.
Good morning. Morning, Mike.
Hey, no running in the hall.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
Cute.
I'm not sure you can make it there. I didn't see you at church yesterday, so.
Yeah, I've had a bad,
I don't see you there. Anyway,
on
glad you're
Sunday,
here.
Saturday night and Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Have you been taking any of that CBD oil my time, Tom?
No.
You should try
Morning,
it.
Marty.
You should try it, see if it can't hurt.
Yeah. Well, the doctor said,
How you doing?
Very good. Okay, which one of your relatives is a pilot
That's my son. Oh, wait. For what?
for United?
Oh.
So you want to sit down, I'll take your crutches, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'll sit down first.
No, this is, he's not old,
Okay, so then, my son, James.
because when I got off the plane in Monterey
Okay.
a couple weeks ago, he said, Mrs. Connor, I went,
Yeah, that's my son.
there you go.
I go, well, I don't, but, yeah, he didn't say anything. He's been down, he's back to this time here.
Oh, nice.
But now, it might have been a trip to, he went coast to coast in California, but he was in Boston.
There you go. There you go. Well, he was
lose that time.
out of
Sleep
nowhere.
like
I
small
never
little-
Tell me when
getting
it's
off
ready.
this plane
Yeah.
thinking,
Push her in a little bit.
Like that, I'll do that.
first thing when he's going,
Ready, slide it out.
"Hey, you're from St. Thomas. Oh my God, they know me coast to coast.
You're like, trying to get away.
All right, I've got 2 minutes past 9 o'clock. Let's call the first meeting to order here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're gonna have to tell Terry where this American flag's always supposed to be on the right.
it is.
It's not. It's facing your back. If you're facing that way, it's supposed to be there.
So, this is our special Mchenry Township board meeting this morning to basically set the, oh, I'm sorry, is there any public comment in this meeting? None being heard, then move on. I don't believe there's any new business in this meeting. The purpose of this meeting is the continued discussion of the annual town meeting to be held on April 9th, 7 p.m. in the Mchenry Township Hall. And we were waiting for, I've given you 2 agendas there. I was waiting for, Mr. Miltel is going to advise us on what questions the elector can ask at the annual meeting and what questions they cannot. So I have one with just the same as the last meeting and one with just one question on it. Was what the thinking was kind of at our last meeting. So, Mr. Miltel, can you comment on that?
I went through the township code and looked at the notice provisions, looked at those issues relative to the elector's corporate power and those provisions regarding the agenda items and possible action items that this board may want to consider. Again, looking at 60 ILCS 1/30-10 sets out some of that requirement regarding the agenda being published by the township board shall include any such requests made by the voters if the request is relevant to the powers granted to electors under the township code. Having gone through the township code and looking at the electors' powers within Article 30, I've determined that B, C, and D are not within the electors' powers, and it should be removed from the agenda items moving forward.
Okay. So I have prepared 2 agendas for possible approval. So with Mr. Miltel, our attorney, advising us that on the first agenda there, which was the original agenda, B, C, and D are not valid questions. So I would ask that we go with the second revised agenda there, that only revision 1, that only lists question number A under new business.
I have a question.
Sure.
At the annual meeting, can once the board approves the agenda, can that agenda be modified?
No.
Or altered in any way?
No.
And then on the first one, on A here, it doesn't say who collected the signatures. Where does it say?
It's the top page.
I think we have the person here that collected the signatures. If that's
It's not clear on the first page.
Well, if there's not, if it doesn't show who did it, then I would think that person must be checked off as far as being a registered voter.
I just gave you the top copy, so it had what it was for. It might be on the other, there's 17, no, that's,
Yeah,
it's got
I
all the
would
signatures.
support though that I'm not sure that document requires the individual's name as far as who circulated. I think the statute, at least from the statute standpoint, says any 15 or more registered voters in the township may request an agenda item. So I have not looked at those names to see if those names are registered voters. I think
I did.
the issue becomes whether or not those signatures in those individuals are registered voters.
And also,
they are.
but also, it doesn't, it says Mchenry, okay? It's part of Mchenry's not Mchenry Township. So how do we know that all these are in Mchenry Township?
Because when I checked for registered, I checked to make sure that they're in McHenry Township also.
You did?
Yes.
Well, I see some have checked, but some also have crosses. So
The
what
ones
is,
that are checked are the ones that they were right off the bat. Some of these might have been questionable. There was one, I believe it's this one there's a couple, it's 18, so there's one that was not, and I believe that's
Well, you
this
got
one.
2 lines here,
Those are ones that were just questionable,
and then you got 2 that were in Richmond. What's the question, how can we count them?
because I checked those.
Oh,
When we
so-
go through them,
Oh,
there's
so you
certain
know,
ones that we
so you
checked.
know for sure checking that these 2, well, we know that they're in Richmond.
Yes, there's one out of the 18 that was not. That's why there's 17 that are good.
well, it looks like there's 2 out of the 18 that are bad.
They might have just been checked, but there was only one that was not.
So when you say 17, it's really
17
16.
no, there's 18 signatures.
Yeah,
Out of that, 17 are good.
Yeah, but you got two
You
Richmonds
got,
at the
you
same
got two in
address.
Richmond Township right here. So you gotta take 2 off of 18, right?
I didn't verify it.
We'll have to have Debbie in here because she's the one that helped me with that. We call the county.
Even if we take those 2 off, there's still at least 15,000 signatures, correct?
Exactly,
Well-
it would be 16, so.
But I'm just concerned about these other ones that are also with a crosshatch as being bad, like the 2 that we know for sure are bad.
When we go through
The clerk
those-
verified the signatures, gentlemen, that's all I can tell you.
Yes. When we go through those, we verify.
How
This
do you-
one was,
How do you verify the signature?
go through the county.
I mean,
Check the
and they have the
registry.
signatures, so you can see what the signature.
No, we don't verify the signatures. We verify that this name and address corresponds with the register in
Well,
McHenry
wouldn't that
Township.
be appropriate to have the signatures also?
They don't
Because
have,
anybody could put an address
forged-
down and not have a valid signature. And that's on the roll,
I'm
right?
not required to do that. All I'm required to do is check this name with this address and make sure that it's in the McHenry Township.
And then, well, and I have a lot of experience, because all my stuff has always been questioned time and again from township officials and attorneys that put there. And a lot of times they told me I was a fraud is they said, well, wait a minute, okay, you look at that signature there, okay? And they also told me to get 10% more because you'll run into these problems. It was almost impossible to do the requirements to change things I want to change. However, I always ran into problems too. For instance, one here it says this person is in apartment 1. Now, in a legal situation, are these people actually registered at that address or just registered voters? A lot of people move.
No, they have to be registered at that address to qualify. We call the county, check the name, the address, and that it's in McHenry Township.
Anyway, I would question it, but it's not big enough to do that. But on the other hand, though, as I've gone through there, Craig, I believe somebody is collecting these signatures here on this property.
They were not, sir.
Just-
John, no,
They were not, sir.
John, could you stand up, please, because you are the one
Well, I
that...
haven't finished yet.
Okay, sorry.
But when I look through here, the ones with kind of ceramic, okay, you see the same names on here.
But
For each, so it looks to me like somebody has taken these 3 petitions here and put them down in front of me at a table to sign.
Bob, I don't know how they were collected, they were presented to me, and all I'm verifying is that they're valid.
for one
Why aren't they
thing,
presented? They presented to you first?
Or presented to Dan first.
That's what I thought.
okay, for one thing, these 3 doesn't matter because they're not going on the agenda anyway.
No, it doesn't
And it
matter.
doesn't matter where the signatures are collected from. They could be collected from one point, doesn't matter. It's just the signature, their address, and that they're registered in McHenry Township.
If these signatures are collected on taxpayer property, that's a huge problem.
Is that,
And I would like to have who runs the senior center down
is
there?
that legal or not?
I don't know if
If
they're
the
a
signatures
public
are
gathering place, is it not?
Yeah, all I know is that the statute doesn't set forth the methodology by which signatures are collected here relative to this petition. It only just requires that 15 are registered and more voters in the township. So I did not check the signatures, but if you're saying you checked the signatures,
I don't check the signatures. I
I'm sorry, you
the name.
checked whether or not they were registered voters.
Yes.
That's the threshold
Yes.
question.
It doesn't matter where the signatures are collected from. Is that, am I correct?
Not according to the statute, it doesn't.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
These don't matter anyway, they're not going on the agenda.
no, it does matter, because if this is the situation is if I'm paying taxes for my issues here, and tax dollars are going to this property here, and we got people circling these petitions, and I got a strong feeling from people I've talked to, it's coming out of the senior center. How many employees do we have at the senior center?
We have a half employee, that's it.
A half
Senior
employee?
Center is run by Senior Service Associates, it's not run by us, and we lease it to them, so.
Could at our next township meeting, I'd like to have who's ever in charge down there come in, and I want to ask the question, are they being circulated down there?
I don't know what the purpose is, Bob, but okay.
Well, the purpose is, because then I think we need to pass a resolution that you cannot circulate petitions on on taxpayer property.
Okay, first of all, the property is leased. Second of all, these are individuals who are citizens of Mchenry Township. If they decide to pass a petition there, I don't think we can stop them, Ron. Just as if you wanted to pass a petition in your barber shop, it's no different.
No, my barber shop's
I
not
don't
paid by
care.
tax dollars.
I don't
Okay,
care.
that's not paid by tax dollars.
I
This
don't care.
property
They're a
is.
citizen. If they want to go get signatures at City McHenry Hall and sit there and do it, they can do it.
Exactly.
Is there a time frame these signatures have to be collected by?
It has-
Yes, March 1st, and
It
it's
has to be-
verified by the
It has to
clerk.
be done by March, it has to be delivered to
Those days
the
are
clerk by March 1st.
Right, but is there a collection period like there are with other petitions?
No.
No.
No, so it could be like 5 years ago, for that matter, and it'd still be okay.
Well, in answer to, yeah, it could be 5 years ago, but however,
They have to
they
still-
still would have to still be registered voters, and it still have to be submitted prior to March 1st.
The question on the floor, gentlemen, we believe those are valid signatures approved by the clerk. They meet the threshold for the annual meeting agenda.
Well, here's my question about it. There's 18 signatures on there. We know 2 are bad, right?
No, one is bad.
What do you mean 1 is bad?
I
There's two
out of
identical
18, I have
addresses.
17 that are verified.
Oh,
17.
there's 19 on there.
No, there's 18 signatures right here, 18.
Steve is-
Out of those, I have 17 that are good, that are verified.
Dan, how could there?
Is there another sheet, Dan, that we're missing?
You've got 2 in Richmond, it can't be.
You got 2
the
in
numbers don't
Richmond
add
and the
up.
identical address, so it's gotta be 2 less than the total, right? So it's really 16.
Yeah, I think this is where Steve's saying these 2 are the same.
Yeah, those 2 are gone.
So if those 2 are gone and there's 18, then you have 16.
No, we have 60.
Okay, 60. Now, my question is, when you did the checking, it seems that the ones that are checked are good, but the 2 bad ones that are already admitted bad have crosshatches on them, and then there's another 2 with crosshatches. So it seems to conflict that those 2 others that are crosshatched are good.
Dan, I think you answered that question. Go ahead. Didn't you? You weren't sure at first, and you rechecked those. Is that correct? The 2 with crosshatches,
Yes.
and you found them to be
Have you
valid.
copy?
No, I don't.
And you found them to be valid, correct?
I found
Okay.
17 out of the 18 to be valid.
No, you found 16 out of the 18.
That's what you say. I have 17 on there, and that's what I have to go by. I'll go through it again, and I'll recheck it. Yeah.
Dan, it's just a matter of subtracting 2, okay?
Well,
I'm not gonna vote for it until you take those 2 out.
Well, it doesn't matter. Okay, I'll take the 2 off. It's still over 15.
No, we're not. Listen to me. I'm not saying those people aren't registered, okay? And it's all, but there's only 16 valid signatures out there, not 17, okay?
Debbie,
Yeah,
when we went over the register, the signatures,
yes,
we have a number, out of 18, we have number 17 were verified.
right.
There's a few that we crossed out,
There
or
has-
they're questionable.
Actually, I will agree with Mr. Vera. There's 2 from Richmond that can't be valid. They're already
Do you
said.
have all the sheets with you? or
That's
just
what I'm
the
looking
front
at.
sheet?
That's what I'm questioning. Is there a second
Stan.
sheet?
Yeah, there's multiple sheets.
There might
on
be an
each
additional
one of
sheet with
those
this. That's what I'm questioning.
resolutions.
Well, then we need to see it.
Yeah, now we need to see it, Dan. You got it in your file, the original?
Yes.
Oh, now I understand what you're
Dan just made a copy of the.
He only made a copy of the front page.
John, yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Oh, yeah, the other ones are gone.
We gotta see the whole.
That's why I kept asking if there was
In
one.
fact, because I asked the question here, he only had 14 signatures, and I said, well, they can't even potentially see what you have.
But there's another, he only copied the first page.
No, I didn't know about the missing page, okay?
Well, I'm assuming there was missing. I don't know that. We'll have to wait and see.
I got it immediately.
Now, since he's doing that, a question for the township attorney. Even though the B, C, and D have a host of problems, one of which seems to me to be, one is completely unconstitutional, okay, regarding the moving up of the election itself, or somehow cutting off trustees' terms, okay, that are already in. What if we're wrong on it?
Well, the statute would have to specifically, I literally went through all of Article 30 regarding the powers of the electors. And there is nothing within that code that addresses B, C, or D relative to the electors or any of that authority. So, I'm confident.
And I'm confident too, but this puts us in sort of a,
So,
they would have to challenge it before the election.
in answer to your question, yes. So what would have to happen is the electors would say, we believe that this agenda item was not properly put on the annual meeting and therefore file something in order to get in front of the judge in order to make this part of the agenda.
Now, as far as A goes, that couldn't be adopted at the meeting, could it?
It could be.
Well, but it wouldn't necessarily mean that it's adopted by the township.
The electors under that particular section of the code has the authority to adopt that particular ordinance.
There's the problem, there's the second page.
Okay. That explains everything. Okay.
More signatures.
We didn't have the second page, so we're like talking in different languages.
So there was actually 21
Right,
signatures.
it's fine. I didn't know that.
All right,
I didn't
well,
either.
the only reason I just gave the top copy was just so that you
Okay.
So in answer to that question, Steve, 60 ILCS 1/30-130 provides that the electors may, by ordinance, declare an inoperable motor vehicle ordinance. And then it sets out the specifics of that ordinance. So there is the language that the electors could do that at the electoral meeting.
And then the board could rescind that at a regular board meeting down the line?
No.
Well, how many of these special items are there in that statute?
Quite a few, about 100.
Okay.
There's quite a few.
You want it
There's a
again?
laundry list.
So,
No, we're good.
is there an enforcement provision in A?
There is, in fact, it allows for the entering into, electors may authorize a local law enforcement agency with applicable jurisdiction to remove after 7 days from the issuance of the township notice any inoperable motor vehicle of such vehicle. So it allows them to enter in an agreement with a law enforcement agency. It also defines what inoperable motor vehicle is. It also talks about what is not an inoperable motor vehicle. And it also allows for the issuance of fines and the removal of such vehicle. I will circulate after this meeting a copy of the statute relevant to that section of the electoral.
That would only
Do you need me to make copies?
pertain to
That'd be great.
I'm going to have to ask,
unincorporated, right?
plead ignorance on this. What are we?
I mean,
municipalities
municipalities handle their own.
Right.
On their own, so it'd just be unincorporated.
Vehicles that are on township property that do not operate, or that are considered inoperable. And so what can happen then is someone can report, 9 times out of 10, at least when I was with the county, a lot of these things were compliance driven or complaint driven, so that if somebody had an issue with something, they would raise it, they would call it in, and then in this particular case, there would be somebody who has a vehicle, abandoned vehicles that are sitting out in properties, and somebody calling in and saying, look, we see that there's vehicles and we'd like to have them removed, or would somebody do something about it?
So what happens if it's within the township, but it's in a municipality?
Then you would want to have two issues. Yeah, two issues. Some municipalities have their own inoperable motor vehicle, and they will do it themselves, and it becomes a non-issue. It's usually the unincorporated areas that are the problematic
But
areas.
doesn't the county cover that?
The county does. The county has some of, the county
So
has.
is that
authority.
overlapping type of situation?
Can I speak on that?
Of course.
I get a lot of calls, mainly from Wonder Lake Unincorporated. I have one gentleman who has 5 or 6 cars that have been sitting on a lot for 20 years that are inoperable.
Have they contact the county?
The county will not do anything because they're sitting on a lot, they're not on the road. So that becomes the problem.
So from the county standpoint, they only touch it if it's on
They
the
only
road.
touch if it's on the road.
Okay.
So this gentleman cannot, he's been looking at this for 20 years and he started looking at it, and they're obviously inoperable. They don't have plates on them, or if they do have plates, they're invalid plates. It's just a mess, and that's just one of several in the township.
And has anybody tried to go to the county and say, why don't you,
I've contacted the
talked to
county
the county board member?
several times, and
what do they say?
they won't do anything
They
about
won't
it.
change
It's not
it.
their responsibility.
May I
Well, what
say
happens
something?
if the municipality refuses to do anything? And it's within a municipality, does the township then become the fallback thing, or what?
I don't know that I've ever had a case of that happening.
Yeah, then it would be a question of overlapping jurisdictions, and I don't know that our ordinance is going to be any more stringent than theirs. If anything, theirs probably has a little more bite into it, I would think, with the municipality. But I think that if that was the case, I think that I would hope the township would contact the municipality and say, we got a complaint, let's do something about it.
We would certainly contact the municipality.
So, the municipality could just say, sorry, go contact the township, even though it's in the city limits of Ringwood.
Yeah, good question, Steve. I think that on that particular case, I'm not sure that it means, they could certainly say, you know what, we're not going to enforce it anymore. We're going to leave it to the township and throw it back at the township. I think at that point in time, the township would then have to deal with it. The problem then becomes, in my opinion, would be the actual enforcement of it then, because then as the township, we'd want to then an agreement with that municipality then to reach out to their law enforcement and say, look, we have a vehicle, will you do something with us on it? And so we're, again, reaching back out to them for the enforcement piece, dealing with the law enforcement. Whereas in the unincorporated area, we'd be dealing with the county, and the county's not going to go into the municipal jurisdiction to enforce it, I would assume.
Now, what financial impact would this have on the township?
I don't believe if the ordinance is written correctly, it would have any. It would fall back on the,
So the.
or our
property
lien,
owners would be billed-
our lien would be
They'll
placed
be
on.
billed for their services, for your services.
Am I correct on that?
What would happen is that the officer would probably go issue a ticket, or have the vehicle towed, and that person then would be responsible for whatever the towing charges are. If it becomes a complaint issue, then it would be complaint driven, and then you would have attorney's fees collected, much like the illegal in this type of situation. But 9 times out of 10, the problem is just the removal of the vehicle. So you just go get a tow truck, and the law enforcement would contact a tow truck. Tow truck comes and picks up the vehicle and hauls it out.
Yeah, but somebody has to pay for it.
Right. So then they file a lien. The salvage company takes the lot.
Yeah.
So, when you say an officer, just to write it up, who would it even be for the township?
For the law enforcement agency, for the township, it would be unincorporated. It would be the county, and it would be the county sheriff's office. If it's other overlapping jurisdictions, you'd have Mchenry and Johnsburg, and those areas, I would assume that they would fall back on those individual municipalities within their ordinances that they have. I think the bigger issue that I'm hearing is that it's the unincorporated area of McHenry County, and then in that particular case, the law enforcement would be with the county sheriff's office.
Well, I mean, the utility of this ordinance probably shouldn't even be a discussion here.
Actually, it is not. It's an annual meeting discussion, so.
It's just another example of, we live in an area of decline, so there's going to be more and more of these cars. It is a problem. The county isn't apparently doing anything to correct their own statute, so it's just bigger government. I just don't want to have our own, that we now have to have township police department to start enforcing all these things because the county won't or can't, and these towns decide it's not worth it to do it, or put the blame on the township so that the taxpayer, the city, isn't mad at the municipality, the mayor, and all that. So it's just another example of government being so big. I agree with Mr. Adams that these derelict autos are a problem. And I don't see how the township is always the automatic net.
Okay, it's in the statute, we're just proposing it for the annual agenda. I don't think we have the authority at this meeting to determine any of those questions. It's up to the electorate.
Well, what if they come back with something that, some kind of an ordinance that's not workable?
That's actually,
That's
a
a
good
different
question.
question.
That's actually a good question because the county, who then would be the law enforcement agency, would deal with the sheriff's office. So what would happen is that if the electors pass a ordinance that is beyond their scope and authority, then most likely you would probably see an opinion from the state's attorney's office to the sheriff's office saying it's overly broad and the powers are not there in order to do it. So I guess the catch piece is the state's attorney's office looking over for the sheriff's office in any relation that may be an agreement between the township and them. So it's an issue. It will be an issue if they do come back with an overly broad, and they'll say, you know, you are exceeding your authority within the bounds of the statute, and therefore we're not going to. They'll consider it unenforceable.
But you'll be there at the annual meeting, right?
Unless the board does not want me to.
No, I would request that Mr. Miltel be there.
So you're saying that if they make some sort of an ordinance and it's unworkable,
No, what I said is, if they pass an ordinance that is beyond their powers, then the sheriff's office may take issue with it and probably would ask the state's attorneys for an opinion as to whether or not it's enforceable or not enforceable. If the state's attorney says they exceeded their power and that is authority that they don't have, then at that point in time, they would probably tell the sheriff's office, you can't do anything about it because it's overly broad and you don't have the authority to do it.
In other words, it wouldn't be enforceable. No one would enforce it.
so if you're in attendance, you would give your legal opinion that this, let's say they voted on something that probably is unworkable. Would you give a legal opinion at that meeting to state that what they've just done is unenforceable, or?
Well, I don't represent the electors. I mean,
So you can't-
my job's not to
But
represent
isn't
the
it to
electors.
give legal opinions?
No, I'm not,
No,
I'm not there to give the legal opinions. You know, if this board wants, if you were there and you might say to me, Jim, is this okay? You know, Mike, I'll tell you, Mike, it's, I think.
And I will be happy to bring that to Mr. Miltel because I will be there.
So do we vote on Mr. Miltel's appearance at this?
I don't think we have to. I'm requesting Mr. Miltel to be there, so.
Well, you said, you made it seem as though if the board wants you to be there, you
Well,
want.
I suppose you could tell him not to be there. If you want to vote, it's not on the agenda, so.
You've always asked me to be there.
I've always asked Jim to be there. Why would he not be there? I guess
I've always,
is the question.
and actually, yes, I've been there with the supervisor's request.
This really gets at the heart of my argument about township government. Because I used to attend those meetings. I know who's there. I saw who's there at last year's meeting when they wanted to put in the cost center. Okay? It's very easy when you're on government property here, to get your employees there, the family members there. The general public has no idea what's going on. And so now we've got a situation where it's, oh, this is how township government operates, and it's the closest form of the government, and we go to the feeling of the people. But actually, we're dealing with, to me, a rigged system. I just have to get that out there, because it just really proves my point here is that really a board doesn't have a whole lot of things to do about this situation. Get elected there, but we have a way of this closest form of government, the annual town meeting. And when you go over that list, what's there, a lot of that stuff is like, goes back to 1850.
There is a lot
that they
of
have
old
there,
stuff.
nobody's ever been cleaned up, and we just keep going on and on and on, and we keep rolling over, and we have taxes go up, and we have one way to go, and everything gets so confusing in time, everybody becomes an argument, but
Okay.
nothing changes.
Bob, your opinion's understood. I'm going to interject though. It's published in the paper. Everybody's welcome to attend. Everybody's welcome to attend. Only registered township voters are able to vote. And while there are some employees there, in my experience, that's not the majority of people there. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, if you want me to go over, I was there last year, I can tell you.
Okay, you know what?
64% of them were tied very close to this township.
Tied is one thing.
Very much tied to either
Okay,
working.
never mind. Let's stop this conversation right now. It's not, has nothing to do with what we're over here. So I'm making a motion that we accept this annual meeting agenda as presented with only item A under new business, as given to us by the township attorney, that is the only item that can be put on this agenda. I need a second to that motion. We have to pass this agenda, gentlemen.
Or what?
Or there will be consequences, I would assume, Mr. Miltel. What would that be?
It would cause a problem for the, any specific items to be on the agenda. The agenda has to be done 15 days prior to the annual meeting, publication and posting of it. And so, in order to do that, I believe I gave a date, March 26th or 27th or something.
So that's the date it has to be in the paper.
Right, so that has to be done that much in advance in order to get that, it might have been the 25th.
But if we don't pass this, you're taking, I don't know, so you're thwarting the electors.
Well, what would happen is that the electors could say, we presented a valid agenda item, the board did not put it on, and take it to court on an issue.
Well, I'm gonna be voting no unless it's taken off.
You don't have the power to take it off. This board does not have the power to take it off, so
Then I'll be voting no.
It meets all of the requirements.
it meets all the requirements. I don't know how you can vote no.
You
Well,
can't take it.
well, it doesn't actually meet the requirements.
Yes, it does.
Well, the actual ordinance isn't in the agenda. Right?
Actually, it was.
Say that again?
The actual ordinance that they are seeking to have put in,
They
enacted,
attached it to the signatures.
well, there's nothing in there about an
Here,
enforcement
it's
action.
right here.
There may be in the ordinance that they proposed, I don't know.
Oh, no, I'm talking, doesn't the actual ordinance that they want, doesn't that have to be in the agenda?
No, they're presenting it, but they presented it with the signatures. There it is.
Oh, see, now, we don't have this.
Well, see, that was the clerk. Should have given it to you, I guess. But it is presented with the agenda
Okay.
item.
Just like we never got the second page, all we got is the
Well-
first page of this, okay?
Don't, you really didn't need the second page. The only
Yeah, we
reason-
do need the second page.
We do.
All right, fine. The reason I gave you the first page is to show what they were filing.
Yeah, but then the ordinance itself wasn't given to the.
Here, I verified the signatures.
I'm not
The
talking
17
about, look, I'm not talking about the verification of
That's the
signature.
only reason.
I'm talking
they-
about the actual ordinance that's gonna be put up,
I'm not gonna argue.
because that's what you're asking me to vote on, and now that it's here, and I can see it for the
We're not
first
asking you to
time.
vote on the ordinance. We're asking you to vote on it being put on the agenda by valid signatures on the petition. If the electors present an ordinance that is not going to work, that's their issue.
Well, Mr. Militello, can you tell them that if it hadn't have been, if the actual proposed ordinance hadn't have been presented?
You need an ordinance.
Right.
And so the part that I'm reading here, it says, the ordinance being in substantially similar form as
That's
attached
right on the
to
top
this
page that
exhibit.
you got.
Yeah, okay, but, no, I didn't get, okay? I'm just getting it now for the first time.
But that would be a problem,
Right.
yes.
Right, so that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't know there was this attachment to it. I thought that was gonna come out of the meeting itself, so.
What is the date for next Monday? Would that, if we were to vote on
I
it
would
next
not.
Monday?
I would not wait, gentlemen.
It'll be the 25th.
I got to have it in the paper by that time.
And you'll be short on time.
I thought it was, what did you say?
I have to get it to them.
It has to be 15 days prior to the meeting. And
Make a
so
copy of that
if you go If it's the 25th, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So on the 25th, it has to publish, which means you'd have to have it to the paper prior to the 25th.
Next Monday is
The
what?
25th.
If the notice was already made out and voted on.
I can't, it takes 2 to 3 days to get that to the paper to have it published. I have to have it there, you know. They're not gonna publish it the same day I give it to them. It won't, it can't, it's not possible. Well, I shouldn't say it's not possible. I suppose it's possible if we want to pay them, unfortunately. Gentlemen, the questions before us?
I don't see anything wrong with that. I will second
You
it.
second the motion. Let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
No?
Mr. Rakestraw? It's a valid question, let me remind you.
I haven't seen the ordinance on be voting on something I haven't even.
You're
Just a
not,
minute,
you're
we're
not
making-
voting on the ordinance, you're
I know,
voting
but
on it.
I'd like to at least see what it says.
Sure, we'll give you a copy.
We-
That's the, no, she's making copies right now, I believe, is that correct?
Yes.
We're making copies.
We can do
vote on
that.
this later in this meeting then?
Yeah, we can do it
Okay,
today.
why don't we recess this meeting then, okay, because we need to go on to our other meeting.
Can I just?
Go ahead.
And I'm not talking about the questions, whether the questions are good or not. All I'm saying is that when it comes to the statute, as far as saying the agenda published by the township board shall include any such request made by the voters if the request is relevant to the power. So I've kind of indicated that I believe that this is relevant based on the sections of the statute. However, it becomes a mandatory piece that it should be included. So that would be my only caveat.
Right, and so therefore, this Exhibit A,
It's important.
it has to also be published,
Yes.
right?
The agenda needs to be published. The agenda needs to be published.
Not the proposed ordinance? Even though it says in the agenda,
The agenda published by the township board shall include any such request made by the voters if the request is relevant to the powers granted to the electors under the township code.
right, but in their petition, they incorporate it by saying Exhibit A. So it seems to me
And
like,
if this board would like Exhibit A published, I can send it to be published.
I think it would have to be, wouldn't it?
You could do one of two things. You could actually do one of three things. You could put it without it. To be clear and so not to raise that issue, you could put it in there, you include that ordinance in there, which is gonna be, that's gonna be in a very, not to talk about township spending, but that's gonna be a very expensive publication if you're gonna publish that whole ordinance. Or three, put it by reference, meaning a copy of that, you could put a notation in there that a copy of the ordinance is available for inspection, with the clerk. You know what I mean? So if somebody wants to physically come see it, whether it's on the website or at the clerk's office, you could do that. And I'm just, if the board is looking to save money on publication of the whole ordinance.
And, that may, the ordinance itself may cause somebody to come to the meeting. You see what I mean? The publishing of the ordinance itself, the proposed ordinance that's gonna be voted on, may actually cause some registered voters to attend the meeting because it's going to affect them. If they can read it, what the whole thing is and understand it. What?
Well, that's what it's supposed to do. It should affect all the citizens that are concerned with it and they have.
Here's the
a
problem,
process.
we didn't even get a copy of this till this morning, okay?
All right, beat me up over that.
I'm not
sorry.
beating you up, I'm saying you want me to okay something, and I don't even know what it is.
All right, now you do.
So if, yes, if you want to make the voters aware of this ordinance, and you would want to then publish it and post it, if you don't want to spend the money on it, you can certainly reference it, just like the prevailing wage act.
Has this special meeting agenda already been published?
No, it has not. We're waiting for you to
Well,
approve it so
can't-
I can publish it.
Can't we just add it to new business for this ordinance? Not the whole ordinance, but just, that would be under new business for the,
I don't understand what you're asking.
well, if you're looking at this thing, new business, There's nothing here on new business.
You must be looking, yes, there is. On the agenda?
On the agenda for the special meeting.
Oh, for the special meeting today you're talking about.
Can I
Oh,
add
I'm
some
sorry, I
additional
looked at the
language?
wrong one.
I'm sorry, I don't know what we're talking
I was
about.
like, wait a second.
To the agenda, and I'm just talking out loud here,
I
on
don't think I have an
On
agenda.
April 9th, the agenda for the annual meeting under A, we may want to add some language that says, of an in, to address some of Steve's issue, and then if
This
the
is
board
today's
decides to put it in the paper, but,
What's this?
a consideration of an inoperable motor vehicle
I don't have
ordinance,
it. No.
in accordance
It was
with,
sent to you in
Exhibit A
email.
attached here too, and,
Here.
so that you reference it in the agenda item, so that it's already,
This is
identified
the
as Exhibit A, and then
That's
that
what I
way,
got. I mean, I don't have the annual.
if, once it's published, then there'll be a reference to the
They did
agenda.
it. Do you have copies of the annual meeting?
Well,
Agenda?
we're supposed to be transparent, right? I mean,
How about this, Steve? What if I post it on the website so it's available for everybody?
Does that go to legal requirement?
We don't have to post the actual,
I just want.
That's not the legal
no,
requirement.
the legal requirement is I have to publish the agenda in the paper. But I could take the Exhibit A and put it on our website so it's there for everyone to see. And it's cheaper than publishing it in the paper.
And then all we would do is add to the agenda, the ordinance being in substantially similar form attached to it to as Exhibit A.
I don't even know what copies it's like.
Correct. And
Right.
Who wrote this?
Because it's on the.
I'm not sure.
It seems like an awful lot of legalese for somebody that we don't know wrote it.
We do know lawyers. We have lawyers as well.
What's that?
We have lawyers as well.
The voters
I
have
filed
lawyers.
that petition. So
John
we have
filed the
lawyers as
petition,
well.
he has lawyers as well, is what he said. Gentlemen, the question is, we need to publish this agenda, and then I go put the exhibit online. That will give everybody fair time to see it.
but then you have to say in the published version
I can do that.
that it is available online.
I-
I mean, that's at a
Sure.
minimum, that's at a minimum.
Sure. We could add that to this, published version, or what would we call it?
A copy available on.
Copy available online. Okay. All right, we've had a first and a second to this. We've had lots of discussion.
I'm still waiting
Oh, I'm
to look
sorry.
at a copy of that thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you
And
had-
if, you're saying that question is on the agenda for the annual meeting.
I'm saying, yes, they've done all the legal requirements to put it on the agenda.
I mean, it's on there, so.
It is, but we have to approve this agenda now by this board, that
Well,
they've met all the legal requirements they have.
Steve was saying that it's not on the agenda, so that answers his question. You were saying that if the people don't know about it, they're not gonna come.
Well, no, I mean, if it's,
But if it's on the agenda, did you get a copy of this?
yeah,
It says on here that there's a consideration for the inoperable motor vehicle ordinance. And this is the thing that's gonna be published, right?
Correct.
So I mean, what are we arguing about?
well, the actual ordinance itself, it may affect certain people.
Well, they could have copies of that,
Attached to the agenda.
at the meeting, you know, for
Yeah,
everybody
but
to
you're
grab
talking,
and look at.
but you're talking about notifying people in advance about what a law is, so that they may want to come to the meeting. Okay, not just the ones that are gonna be the township people.
Well, I mean, in the new business, that would be enough to bring them in if it concerns them.
I would think if they're concerned, they would read the agenda and come if they're
Yeah,
concerned.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
All right, so let's get this straight. The actual proposed ordinance is going to be on the website,
I will put it on the website, yes.
and the published account, the published notice is going to direct people to the website.
Sure, I'm sure we can find a way to do that.
And also, B, C, and D should be taken off.
Wait,
Yeah.
there's two different versions. We already decided B, C, and D are off, I'm
There
sorry.
was two different ones proposed today, because we weren't sure.
This isn't valid.
Yeah, this is valid.
So your original motion will have to be.
So we have to change the original motion, I guess. One, I'm gonna change my motion to say, we're going to approve this annual town meeting publication with the changes,
With the change of adding, at the end, that the ordinance is being is in substantially similar form as attached here to as Exhibit A, and that a copy of it is available
on the website.
Well, I don't think it should say substantially similar. I
It
should
is
say
the
it
following
is.
form.
It's the following form.
Right.
That's, I agree, in the following form.
Okay? So that's what we're going to do, and it will be then available on the website, and in the publication that they see, they can go to the website to see it. So I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Got a question, John? Sure. Did you collect these signatures on this?
Yes, I did, you, my friend.
Were they collected on township property?
No, sir.
They were not?
No.
Okay, then, okay, change my vote.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Let's move on for a roll call vote to approve this, or not approve it. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beard?
Yes,
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, all yeses. The motion is carried. We will publish the annual township meeting agenda as per what we've just stated here. Okay, we can have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Wojciechowski to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Mr. Anderson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? None heard. This meeting is adjourned. We're late, gentlemen. We're going to move right on to our next meeting. All right, call to order the 9:30 meeting of the Mchenry Township Budget Workshop meeting. I guess we need to do the Pledge of Allegiance again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thanks.
All right. On to the budget workshop. Okay. There was several questions, I'm sorry, any public that would like to speak at this before right now? Okay, none being heard, we're going to move on. New business, do we have any gentlemen? Let's move, we got it. Yes?
Mr. Adams, I would ask that the two public attendees also be given copies of everything we're getting.
Oh, sure. That would be a very good idea. Okay, so then we're going to move on to old business right away, which we're continuing the discussion on the Mchenry Senior Township Express for the next budget year. You asked me for a variety of things. I provided those for you. I think I provided everything you asked for in these documents. I have asked Mary Donner, who is present here. She is the McHenry County, I don't want to get her title wrong, Mary. What is her title?
Community Relations Representative.
Community
Government-
Relations
Government
Representative.
Affairs.
The Government Affairs. Can't get that all in a card. Right?
I know.
For McHenry
For
County.
McHenry County.
So she can answer those PACE questions that I cannot answer, and provide you some insight on that. Also in this is the refusals that came from PACE for a year. And there's a total McBride cost summary in there from the county to run the McBride program. Also, you asked for the gas for various things. That is included also. And just want to make a comment. Our 12,500 with buses was slightly low. We spent $19,530.69 last year on buses. But then we also have that 12,500 agreement with the Park District, not Park District, Park Program, and they only spent approximately less than $5,000. So our total gas cost last year was $24,028.07. So our $25,000 is not too far off.
What it changes with more money going to the bus, though, the gas line for the cost per ride, though, somewhat, right?
Actually,
Because
you know.
that's what Steve was looking for.
Right.
He's looking for the actual cost per ride.
I have to take all these numbers and crunch them, but I believe the actual, let me go back and crunch those for you, but it's not gonna change the cost per ride significantly, is what I'm telling you.
What do those buses get for mileage?
They get about 11 to 12 miles a gallon is what we're experiencing. Depends upon where you're going, how much you're idling, all those good things.
Okay, so when a bus goes and picks up a person that's handicapped, I assume that they leave the bus running while they do that?
They do.
Do they? Okay, yes, I guess.
I've been on the buses.
Okay, Dan's ridden on those, so they do.
So we can't really go strictly by mileage because if they're running.
I gave you the exact gas cost.
You got the gas
I got the exact cost. We don't need to go by mileage.
That was his,
Can I add something?
Yes.
It actually costs more to turn the car off when it's restarted than it does to leave it run, if it's only gonna be for a minute or two.
Why would they?
Because the amount of gas that it takes to start the engine.
I agree with that.
So,
Not taught that
if
too.
you're only gonna be stopped for a minute or so, it's less to keep it running. I was in the car industry for 20 years, I know that it was bad.
Also included in your packet is the insurance premium cost that Steve that you asked for, and our TORMA coverages that are for our policy. And interestingly, it's all there.
Is
That's
this,
in that packet,
Is
on
it-
the next page.
Next page is TORMA coverage.
okay.
They might not be in the order he's saying them right now.
All right, I'm just trying to make sure I got everything.
You should.
So gentlemen, I have Mary Donna here because you had a variety of questions at the last meeting regarding PACE, and I couldn't answer those, so I asked her to come. Would you have any questions of her now that she's here?
Can you state and spell your name, so?
Okay,
Oh.
sorry, I'm sorry, my name is Mary Donner, Donner, in Pace Suburban Bus. My position is Community Relations Representative, Government Affairs, and External Relations. I work specifically with McHenry County, but the kind of program that you have here in McHenry Township, I am the lead for that program around the 6-county area in establishing those programs.
Could I ask, is it acceptable to you to just call you Mary, or should we call you Miss Donna?
You may call me Mary. Today. Here. Much easier.
You wanna see what they call me?
So you're an employee of,
Pace Suburban Bus.
not the county?
No. I
And
was
you-
on the county board from 2006 until 2012. Prior to that, I was a Monday Township trustee from 2000 to 2006. So I'm at least familiar with what's
And this is your material here that we're looking at?
that first page is not.
That first page came from the county. They keep these, they provided me these statistics.
Yes, this is all the counties. This is all county that
This
you
is-
receive,
This is,
or from your township.
Not what we're doing, but.
this has nothing to do with well, I don't think we're in here, are we? No, we're not, we're blanked out. See, McHenry Township, there's nothing in there. Except there's a 2-in-1, which I don't know what it is.
I've got a question. This one, I thought Steve was, are you done this? Oh, you're reading, okay. At our last meeting, we were told that the township is leasing buses for $100 a month.
Correct.
Okay. What would be the true cost of that? Certainly, if you were renting a bus, you couldn't rent a bus.
No.
So we're looking for the true cost of what those rides are costing the taxpayers. And so taxpayers are buying those buses, but certainly you couldn't lease a bus for $100.
The buses that we the vehicles that you receive are gotten by us through federal grants. That's money that we get from the feds, and therefore we can return that and process it back to the municipalities. This program is specifically for units of government to be able to do that at $100 a month. It does not recoup what we do. You ride that bus until there's 100,000, 150,000 miles on it, and it's depreciated. So there is no other cost of that portion. We have certain requirements, such as the amount of insurance, the ability and safety ability of your drivers, and those people are all part of our drug and alcohol program. You are part of a safety, security, emergency preparedness plan that is federal, that says that if we need you for a particular purpose, such as a heating for in the cold weather for fire departments, or in hot weather for certain situations, we can say you are public transportation, and as public transportation, we ask you to do this. That happened a lot last couple weeks ago when the weather was very cold and Metro was having a lot of problems. We pulled buses in, these types of buses in from other areas to help with that kind of thing. So it's not just one use, and it's not it's basically a lease, and whatever we can do with it afterwards is.
And so we're bringing federal money back to the county, basically.
Correct.
Okay, but those are still tax dollars,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, so that's
Well,
my question.
No, I take it back.
But-
They're federal grants. that do
But
that.
somebody had to pay for his grants for taxpayers, right?
Yes. the
No
whole
one
time.
just given, somebody was taxed for those grants.
Yes.
So that's in the cost of that bus.
And the RTA funds pay for the operations of.
Okay, but what I'm getting at is that if we're looking for the true cost per ride, okay, from the township here, I want the cost of all the funding money. Well, I don't care what
I'm
grant
sorry,
it
the
is.
true cost per ride is what we're actually paying. That is the true cost per ride. It can't be this theoretical, it should cost this.
No, no.
That's not the true cost. The true cost is what we're actually paying out, Bob.
Mr. Adams is completely wrong about
Okay,
that.
What you told me, told us the last time was that your true cost is at $100 per month of renting those buses.
That's what I'm paying.
I'm saying you can't rent a bus for $100 a month,
I am.
okay?
I am.
I know, but I mean,
This may
you
sol-
are in a situation.
this may
but-
solve the
But that
problem.
doesn't count in the total
Right.
cost. What?
Go ahead.
This may solve the problem. There's two figures. The total cost per ride, and then the cost the cost of the township.
Okay, I agree with you. The cost, there's the cost of the township, okay.
Okay, so
That's the true cost of the township.
well,
it's-
we're gonna
Well,
really debate on
maybe we'll
that,
debate on that, okay.
but we'll just call that
Okay.
township
Okay.
cost. Because the township
You know what?
taxpayers also pay these federal things that.
But I think
come
he's
back.
already got two grants involved there
Right.
with his costs.
Yeah, we'll get to all that.
That's different, that's different.
Yeah, I know it's different, yeah, okay, so.
Anyways, I
So there-
don't know what the costs are.
Well, you must,
I don't know that Mary knows that either.
All right, now,
Frank will call you back.
No.
That was our legal counsel, but I'm not.
well,
calling you
just
back.
kind of a regular thing, would you agree that the $100 on the low side to rent a bus?
I'm sorry?
With $100 on the really low side to rent a bus? No, in other words, what do those buses cost?
The last time I heard, because I'm not in the purchasing department, and we only have X number of dollars a year that we can use to purchase those, but the last time I heard, they were about 55 or 60,000.
So let's say, I'm gonna say 60,000.
Okay.
So you're telling me that, that the true cost of running a $60,000 bus is $100? No, it can't be.
It's $13,600 a year for the cost, because if you took that truck, amortized it at 5% over 5 years, it'd be about $13,600 a year.
As opposed to $100.
well, that assumes that the $60,000 figure is correct, not something from 10 years ago,
No,
right?
that would be on the high side now.
So you said 13,000 what?
$13,600, but that's for the year.
Right.
That's what it costs for the year.
Right.
If you were to purchase a vehicle.
Right.
If you were to lease a vehicle, probably it would be substantially less.
Be about
yes.
half.
Okay. Dan being in the automotive industry, so something less.
Here, I can tell you approximately what a payment would be on a $60,000 vehicle. Average lease payment on a $60,000 vehicle would be about $1,200 a month.
1,200.
But we're getting these new.
But we're getting them for $100 because we have the grant.
But that's the figure I'm looking for, is $1,200.
Here, the only,
So all the buses
Only
start
thing-
out new, right?
Not necessarily. We have some vehicles that have been turned in because they've gone with a different program, so that, or they've just finished with what they're doing because they have had new opportunities to work with. At that point, you would be getting a secondhand vehicle, so it might have 20, 30,000 miles on it. Some of them have 80,000.
So what is it for McHenry Township? Do we know?
I'm
The
sorry.
last time we got vehicles, they were all new.
All right, so how many other townships do you work with?
I work all over the 6-county area.
How many other townships do you work?
In McHenry County.
In Mchenry County,
Well, let's start with the global.
the global, oh my God, I've got Lake County, well, I've got Waukegan Township, I've got Grant Township, Avon Township, Antioch Township. I'm going to say, what's Fox Lake? Is
Grant,
Ela-
Grant.
Is that Grant? That's Grant. Ela Township has services from us, but they have a dial-a-ride service, so cut that one out. I'm working now with Thornton Township, just got vehicles. They just got vehicles. Who else has just gotten vehicles? I have a list. You know what? I have a list of all the vehicles for all the townships someplace, but I don't have them on my fingertips.
Thornton Township is in what county? Is that Cook?
No, Thornton Township is in South Cook.
Yeah, Cook.
Yes.
Okay.
Hampshire Township has. Generally, we provide services where kind of service that you want, you can't get with other public transportation. And so the townships get into that. Nunda Township was, but is, well, Nunda Township is now part of MC Wright because they had one bus and it wasn't being used.
All right, so they terminated their program.
Yes,
And when was that?
prior administration,
So over 3 years ago?
over 3 years ago. But
That's
they
only-
had their own bus and now they are now part of MC Wright.
Did they lease a bus or they had their own bus?
They leased a bus from
Okay.
us to begin with.
Mhm.
But for the number of people they were using, or being able to serve, it was, because you've got the cost of the drivers, you got
Sure.
the cost of the insurance, you got the cost of the gas, you got the cost of the safety measures, all involved in that, and it was not cost effective for them.
So what was the cost per ride on
I
that
have
one?
no idea.
Can you find out?
No.
I could ask another township, I'll ask them if they have those records.
Because we're in the same boat now. We're trying to figure out if this is cost effective.
You have the most effective township system that I know, except for Rich Township. Rich Township has a huge population that they serve. But if I'm going to talk to anybody about a service that actually works, you guys carry 10% of what all of MC Ride carries. That's 12,000 trips a year. And
Right.
even though you are only serving people from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock, the call center
I
that.
thought it was 4 o'clock, is what we were told.
But I have-
Our last pickup is at 3.
Our last pickup's at 3, the drivers don't clock
Okay,
out
well, that's
till
what it
4.
says on here, so
Okay.
that's why, because it's such a limited number. You use our call center,
Correct.
and our call center scans those, sees what trips are going to be outside of that 8 to 3 or Monday through Friday, and they automatically take those to MC Ride. If somebody asks for McHenry Township, they come to McHenry Township Express, and then you folks schedule them. Your scheduling is more accurate than MC Ride is, because MC Ride has to take care of all the townships and can easily be later. You provide more personal service, you can go door to door,
Why doesn't Pace provide that service?
because it's a county service. The county contracts with us, and then everybody pays, the county pays us.
No, I'm talking about in terms of the particularized service that the McHenry Township Senior Express provides versus the McRide program itself.
Okay, MC Ride runs from 6 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday.
So
9
it's
to
actually a
5.
longer period of time?
Yes, 9 till 5 on Saturdays and Sundays. I think it's 9 to 5
I think
on
that's
Sundays as well. That was just passed this year.
So Saturdays and Sundays?
Sundays, yeah, Saturdays and Sundays. MC Ride is, I'm sorry, you folks are Monday through Friday,
Correct. Well, we also have a Sunday.
and you have a Sunday, okay. Also, you are door-to-door service.
Whoa, we were told originally this is just during business.
No, Steve, I told you at the last, or whenever you asked me, we also run Sunday from like 7:30 till 1 o'clock, something like that.
But not Saturday at
No,
all?
we do not run Saturday at all.
Okay.
The other portion of that makes a township service, you can make your township service be as broad or as narrow as you want. You can change your hours if you want. Around MC Ride, everybody has to agree to that. The other thing is you have door-to-door service for those people who need extra help. You can give that to them.
Is this the only township doing that in the county?
No, well, not, it is the only township that's doing it right now, yes.
In McHenry County?
In McHenry County. The other place that does is the Veterans Assistance Commission, has 3 vehicles.
But does not Algonquin have some type of service?
No,
Oh, they don't anymore?
no,
Oh, didn't know.
So
No.
Algonquin was in and now they're out?
no. Algonquin was never in.
Okay.
Lady Hills was never in.
I thought they had their own bus service.
Algonquin Township has its own bus.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm not sure
The township
how,
owns their own bus.
yes,
They don't lease it from you guys.
no.
Why do you charge a lease at all if they're taking so much of the burden off?
They have to. It used to be that if, once you got 5 years on the bus, we could sell it to you for $1, and then the federal government came back and said, no, you can't. That's not reciprocal, and it will cost you money because that's not what the vehicle is worth. So my assumption, and I would have to go back, we can change that cost. We want to keep it as low as we can so that there are townships that can afford to do that. They may not have a lot of traffic, but at least they have something that they can afford for their people. For seniors and disabled, to be able to have somebody who can go right up to their door instead of to the curb. We have driveways that are 125 feet long. If I'm in a wheelchair, I can't get to the curb, especially in some areas, whereas you folks can do that. We can't carry your groceries in for you. So if you have more than 2 bags of groceries and you can't take care of it that way, that's what public transportation is. It's not a convenience. And if you want to call this a convenience, but it's not. It has to be spread out far enough to be able to give the most help to the most people. And you folks can give specifically to the people you know.
Why doesn't PACE do that?
I'm sorry?
Why doesn't PACE do that for everyone on the McRide program?
It's public transportation.
Well, this is public transportation too.
No, it's not.
What do you call it?
This is your transportation. This is township government transportation. PACE is a suburban bus, is a unit of the RTA. It's a subunit, just like the CTA can't come to your house, or a train can't come to your house, or anything can't just come to your house and do all that. It would be extraordinarily expensive. MC Ride is very expensive. That's why we don't have fixed route in McHenry County, because we don't have the population to support fixed route. Fixed route goes here to here to here to here to here to here, and if you're not there at the right time to do it, you don't get on the bus.
Well,
That's public transportation.
there are fixed ride, right,
There are 3 fixed routes.
in McHenry County.
We have 806, 807, and 808. If you look at the McHenry County's transit plan, they're working on changing that to see what we can do, because the 806 runs from Crystal Lake through McHenry and Johnsburg out to Fox Lake Metro. The 807 runs from McHenry to Woodstock, and the 808 runs from Harvard through Woodstock down to Crystal Lake.
So you consider that public transportation?
That is public transportation.
And the McRide program is not public transportation?
No, it's county transportation. It's county public transportation. If there was a change to be made, the county could do it, but it would have to go through the PTAC, which is Public Transportation Advisory Committee. It would have to apply to every township or every community that's involved in this. And I doubt that you could get everybody to do the same thing that you want to do.
All right, now, my question is, why doesn't McRae do this door-to-door thing on the long driveways?
Because it is a quasi-public transportation. They go along, I can't speak for the transportation department. My feelings are that for them to do what you do would make the cost to everybody considerably more, because it would substantially change the timing on what you can do. If you call, you have to call a day ahead to get your ride.
Well, that's this ride too, right?
That's fine. I don't know.
There are times when we can fit somebody in on the same day, but normally we ask them to call day ahead.
Normally you ask for a day ahead. If you want to be someplace at 10 o'clock, PACE will tell you, because it's PACE run, that you have to be available for the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning if you want to make sure you're someplace at 10 o'clock.
Now, when you say pace, you're talking about McRae.
PACE is, yes.
Because I want to be clear on all these different,
Okay,
pace is the same thing as McRae.
no. PACE runs the service that the county has an agreement.
They run the dispatch service, is that fair?
We run the dispatch service. We have the vehicles. We have the drivers. All those costs are anticipated. There's a fare that is a deficit fare. They only pay about 10% of the total cost of what's going on when you say a recovery ratio. PACE has an agreement with MC Ride to the tune of about $1.2 million. And the county puts in $1.2 million, of which you can see from your sheet how much money is returned, each municipality or unit of government has to pay back to the county pays us back. We charge the county, it goes back and forth like that. So when I say PACE, we run it, the county makes the rules, as many rules as they can.
The chargebacks are based on rides or mileage?
The fares, we're getting back into MC Ride, so please bear with me. MC Ride right now has $3 for the first 5 miles and 25 cents a mile after that.
And that's mandatory.
That's what they agreed to for this year, yes.
All right, so unlike the Mchenry Township program where it's a donation,
That's correct.
it's a mandatory fare to defray the cost.
Unlike the township, it's a mandatory cost.
All right.
So what it does, though, is allows you to go from Richmond to Algonquin if you need to have a doctor's appointment.
You mean the McRae program?
MC Ride, yes. If you have the funds to pay for it, they can take you.
Okay.
That's not true for here. This is very, very limited in what it is you can do. So the fact that you have the number of people that you have, they're short rides by comparison to some. Most rides are under 11 miles, as I understand.
So the average is, as you understand it, the average distance for the McRae?
For MC Ride is about I'm not going to say.
Right.
I'm sorry I have to do it that way. You'd have to ask Scott Hennings or Sue Brucky, and we can talk about that, and we can get that information.
Well, it's something on the order of 11 miles.
No, that's not. If I'm going from Richmond to
Right, but I'm just
here,
asking
it's
for an
11 miles.
overall
Normally,
average.
most rides are under 5, so that they are only charged $3, perhaps 7. Maybe that gets you another 8 miles, no, 4 miles.
Would it be fair to say that one of the reasons why McRae doesn't do the door-to-door is because of the extra liability? There's going to be an added insurance cost, besides the time factor and all the other costs.
The fact that it's curb to curb is standard across PACE, all PACE driven programs. I don't know of any other township or municipality that will take door to door if they are in one of our programs. It's all curb to curb. And that's probably because we're putting half the money towards it. So it has to remain our standards.
So does this include the Algonquin program?
Algonquin has nothing to do with us at private.
I know, but is that a door-to-door?
I don't know. You have to ask
I believe
Algonquin.
it is, but I could ask and find out.
I know it used to be.
I'm pretty sure it is, Steve, but I would have to re-verify that.
Well, all right, so you have nothing to do with this first page that
No.
was given to us? Okay. So how many extra trips would McBride do if there was no Mchenry Township program?
It'd be 12,000, and I don't know that they can handle that.
12,000 over the course of a year?
Yes.
But they don't, my understanding is they wouldn't have the ability to do that because.
Right now, they
because-
would not.
yeah.
They're capped out. We have no capital money to be able to purchase any new vehicles for that, for those kind of things. We just don't have, and in fact, the garage, as it's set up now, is maxed out on the number of vehicles. Did we have 42, I
But,
believe?
well, you really wouldn't have to purchase the vehicles, you just use the ones for the, that McHenry Township
And then
has.
you will never be able to, no, then it wouldn't be able to do it. You wouldn't be able to handle that excess, that I know of.
Well, you'd have to get new drivers, right?
You only have a certain number of vehicles in a certain number of hours.
Well, look, there's 4 buses here that we're leasing from you guys, right?
Yes,
Okay. So, you wouldn't have to buy any new buses.
no, but we would have to make arrangements to be able to handle
Right,
12,000 or
right.
13,000 more rides a year. And we already ran into that problem when we were doing the 2019 agreement, that it was going to be short because of the funding. So there is no extra funding for 2019. My guess would be, if something was going to happen, that you would have to, not that you would have to, but that would be something that would be taken care of through the next agreement.
And that's not us, Steve, that's the county, basically,
Yep,
and the county board, that how much money they can allot to the program.
Do you know when the McHenry Township program began?
2011, 2012.
No, we had our own program prior to that.
Oh,
with
I'm
our-
sorry,
our own
program
buses.
prior to
that, yeah.
That was 99.
I believe that's right.
The pilot
And
program
it was felt
done
at
in-
that time it was much cheaper to be able to provide the same service with our program.
Right.
And it's grown since then.
Yes, it is.
That's why they
Well, anytime you offer a service cheaper
Of course,
than the McBride program, you're going to get the drop off from McBride to the cheaper service, right?
that's not the case. That's not the case.
Well, then you should have more people taking McBride because it's more expensive rather than the cheaper McHenry.
If you have, as I said before, if it's not between 8 and 3, it's not between 9 and 5, 8 and 3, Monday through Friday and possibly Sunday, it all goes to MC Ride. And it's not just talking about here, we're talking about through the Johnsburg area and through Ringwood and a lot of other places that, and Ringwood
Except it doesn't go to the Wonder Lake area.
doesn't go to the Wonder Lake
Correct.
area, no.
And I'd also like to point out that this is just for seniors and disabled, our
That's
program.
correct.
Correct.
And MC Ride is general public.
Craig, I asked a question last time too about how many people were using the bus service to come to the township property, senior services.
Oh,
did you-
you did ask me that question.
Isn't that on one of these sheets?
I don't know. Is it-
I think it is.
I don't know that it is.
But I talked to a person that goes to senior services, and this person said that somebody come up to him and said that he takes the bus because he can ride the bus for $1 as opposed to driving his car. I kind of, when I hear those kind of stories, it irritates me that
No,
we got this cheap service
I
and
understand
people
that,
take
but
advantage of it.
that's certainly not the majority of people.
Now, well, there's nothing that says,
And there's nothing that says that, and we're probably to the point that we should raise our fare to $2 a ride.
yes.
We could do that, and we're probably to that point where we should be thinking about that. It still has to be a donation, but we could change it to $2 instead of $1 because McBride has been slowly raising their fares. So it's probably also time for us to do the same.
Well, when you say $2, is that a round trip or?
No, one way.
One way.
Does McBride ever tell people, go use Mchenry's if they're in the area? If they're within the geographic area of McHenry
No,
Township?
they prioritize rides by time and the area that they're coming from. Like I said, if it's not between 8 and 3, and it's not between Monday through Friday, we try to make the rides go through MC Ride, but if we have capacity issues or timing issues with MC Ride, we're certainly not going to say, you can't go to Mchenry Township. There are people, if you advertise, that ask for the Senior Express. You can take that out of your advertising, that might make a difference. I don't know, I'm not going to be the person to tell you to do that. But we don't make those kind of priorities, let's put it that way.
Well, of the McBride program that currently exists,
Yes.
how many McHenry Township rides are you taking?
That might be on that.
I asked that of Scott today, and it's difficult because Ringwood and Johnsburg also use MC Ride, but not necessarily for seniors and disabled because it's public transportation. They can get you that number. I can have Susan work on it and get back to you.
Yes, that would be very helpful. And so,
and so then it would not be an exact number, it would be an estimate to the extent that somebody might scooch in who's a senior or not a senior. It's going.
It would just be total ride.
It'll be total rides. No, but see, that's not fair either. If you take the total rides, you're talking the city of McHenry.
Right.
Yeah, but
You're also
but
talking.
you're okay with, because if you live in the city of McHenry, you can get a senior ride. If you live in Johnsburg, you can get a senior ride.
Correct.
Right,
So there's no difference.
right.
So it doesn't matter where they're coming from as long as they're in McHenry Township whole.
Correct.
well, there is a big difference. It's who's paying for it?
No, what I was saying was, it doesn't, she was saying, well, some of them are gonna be in Ringwood, some of them will be in Johnsburg, and McHenry Township as a whole is what our program serves. So it doesn't make a difference there, was my point.
Well, yeah, it does make a difference, because we're trying to figure out how many people use the McBride program that are seniors and disabled.
Okay, that's fairly easy to be able to get for you.
From McHenry Township,
Yes,
whole.
right.
So what happens when a McHenry Township resident needs to go to the doctor in Crystal Lake?
Well, we haven't even established how many times are these in doctor's appointments. What if,
Oh, I
Most?
believe, according to your
Most?
brochure, most of yours are.
whoa, what brochure are we talking about?
The one that's in the,
The one that's in the hall, Steve,
Hall.
that you've looked at, but I'll give you, happy to hand it to you.
Probably, it looks
I
like
pulled it
about
out this
two-thirds,
morning.
two-thirds of all your rides.
Yeah, then we gotta look at the logs themselves. How are these even comported?
We have a log for every day, every bus.
So you're telling me that two-thirds of the rides are at hospitals, or the
I'm not
doctors?
saying that, I'm saying I believe the majority of rides.
did you get this, Steve?
If you look at the major,
Right here,
that box there,
that box there tells you.
it's mostly doctors, hospitals, and some groceries.
You got that last meeting?
That was from the last meeting.
Yeah, but this doesn't establish any numbers.
No, that's just, Stan was just pointing out that's the majority of the places they go to. It tells you all the,
No, I'm talking about the majority of the rides, not the majority of the places. I wanna know how many rides are actually going to the hospital. How many rides are actually going to the dialysis center? How many of the rides are actually going to,
If you excuse me for a minute, you keep talking, I think I might have.
in other words, what percentage of the Mchenry Township rides are actually medically related versus to a non-medical destination?
I think there's what, 3 on there that
How
are
would you
non-medical?
determine that?
So then you would say like 70%, just estimating based on.
You
what
said
they-
70?
That's what I'm saying.
Isn't the mechanic hospital in
How many of them are not medical on there that are listed?
I can't tell.
Let me, or,
I can't
Isn't,
tell.
okay, so you got,
Senior center.
Yes,
it's medical.
Mike, as they discussed at the last meeting, we do go over in another
Yeah,
township
those
for the
are just
hospital.
destinations. I wanna know how many
I
of these.
know, but I'm just
This
saying,
was
how many of
discussed
these
last
were
meeting?
medical, I was just giving you an estimate.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of these, out of how many? 13. 8 out of 13, so divide that. That'll give you a percentage of how many are medical.
No, that doesn't give a percentage of anything, okay? You
Well,
could,
these are-
you could
these
have
are the
100, you could have
locations.
100 doctors on there and say, look, 98% are medically related.
That's just the ballpark.
We were just estimating based on,
I'm talking about how many of the rides in March 2018, okay? You got 800 and, do you have a copy of this? No, tell me.
I do, I'm looking at it.
Okay, how many of those 816 rides were to a medical facility?
oh, you want specific by month.
I don't think you're gonna know that unless you look at a report, because otherwise what you're doing
Right,
is you're
exactly.
taking,
I was
you're
just-
saying, assuming each one has an equal value, you're taking that
Right,
percentage to the 860.
exactly.
You'd have to look at a report.
Well, see, that's a no.
Well,
Oh,
Craig's gonna see if he's pretty much sure we have that already.
because if it's a small figure, okay, if only 5% of the rides represent a medical trip, that'll make a big difference to me than if it's 98%.
I'm gonna say probably not, because Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is dialysis. And that's huge.
What's huge mean?
There's a lot of people that go to dialysis.
Yeah, okay, so how many percentage of the rides are dialysis?
Yes. Let's see what Craig comes up with. I don't know, I'm just,
I mean, yeah,
just from my knowledge of,
you're trying, this whole thing is an emotionally driven argument. You're saying, look, people are going to the hospital, people are going to dialysis. They'll die if they don't get this program, okay? I want to know how many people are actually going to these different destinations.
yeah, we'll have to see what report he has. I don't know. I don't do that part, so. I just know Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe, is dialysis, and that's huge. So I think that'll drive your number up,
You could.
When you say huge, is that like 20 people?
probably.
If you made an assumption that every month, the general percentages were the same relative to those various locations, you could look at 1 month of reporting and make a determination on that.
Right. I think Craig has it.
I do not, we have to go through the logs to find that information.
Okay, so then we'll have to.
And I've put in a call to the county, and when I get back to the office, I'll put in a call to our people to see, because we have the logs as well, and we can tell you that. But if you look at Mchenry, you can see some of the information. I'm sorry, the cost of the program for the county, I do have here, well, you have it here too to look at, and at the moment, I can't break that out, so I will get that information from the county and from my planner. I can do that.
Well, have you noticed an increase in the number of Mchenry Township rides?
I have not looked at that to specifically pull it out.
All right, have you noticed a decrease in the number of Mick rides in Mchenry Township?
I can't tell you that, that's McHenry, that's MC Ride, that's not PACE. Those things are MC Ride related. They hand those numbers over to us, but that's not something I see.
Okay.
All right, are there any more questions of Mary at this time?
Yes.
Okay.
There's also volunteer programs in the county, right?
Yes,
And what are they?
There's,
Senior
Senior
Care
volunteer.
Network, Senior Services,
right,
there is Angels, something,
there are, but none of them, they have more requests than they have drivers to give rides all the time.
I know, but they're also door to door, correct?
Yes, but they may not be, they're in cars and they may not have wheelchair
That's
availability. It's you take your car, Steve, volunteer to take them somewhere.
Well, I noticed on the Mchenry Township website that there's actually a link to that.
There may be, and if people could, those are more for Steve, if someone's going to, one of the examples of somebody going to North Chicago or to Chicago, Northwest Memorial downtown or
dialysis.
University of Chicago for specialized medical treatment.
So it doesn't say that on the thing. It just says medical rides available. In fact, they'll even do those social rides.
They would take you, yes, they would, if they had the drivers to do it. They do not. They can't come anywhere near the number of requests they have.
How do you know all this?
Because I talked to them, Steve, quite a bit.
Okay, who did you talk to?
In the county transportation meeting, they are present and they tell us that.
Oh, who did you talk to from the volunteer service?
I don't have a name of the person. They appear at the county transportation meeting and give a report, and that's the report they give there.
How many rides do they give for McHenry Township people?
I have no idea.
That's just one of them, right? The senior volunteer services?
That's the one I can think of.
Okay, and what are the other ones, Mary?
they're volunteer groups. Actually, there is a McHenry County map. Do you have the McHenry County map out there?
Yes, we do.
Let me go see, because I believe it's on the McHenry County map.
Just to save time, going back to this first page, this came from where?
That came from McBride County.
Okay, now, for some reason, there's no refusals for McHenry Township.
Because they don't, this is the McBride program. We're not in the McBride program for the McHenry Township bus system.
But Johnsburg is, and they're listed, so.
I'm sorry, we are in the McBride program. I don't know, there, I see we're blanked out there except for 1 month. We have to ask them why that is.
Well, that's very important for us to figure out, because if it's anything like Crystal Lake, there's gonna be a significant number of rides that are refused. And some of those McHenry Township ones, yeah, I mean, it should be listed, because this whole thing is for people that don't live in a municipality, right? That was how it was originally conceived.
No. City of McHenry's in it, Crystal Lake's in it, Johnsburg's in it, Richmond's in it, Chemung's in it. If you look at the top thing there, those are municipalities that are also in it. Huntley, Marengo.
Well, for some reason,
I don't know what the answer, I understand what you're telling me. I'll have to ask that question.
it's just a big blank. Also, what's not listed is, the other towns in the township. The other municipalities.
Okay, they have to be in the program, Steve. They pay to be in the program. If they don't pay to be in the program, they're not in the program. So every town may not be in the program. Wonder Lake is not in the program that I'm aware of.
Okay, what about,
And I don't know that,
what about Richmond?
Richmond is in the program. It's on the list.
Okay. And Johnsburg pays to be in there?
Yes, they do.
Those are the three, besides Wonder Lake, that are actually municipal incorporated. Is there Fox Lake in there?
It wouldn't be in this report because Fox Lake is not in McHenry County for the most part. It's a different program.
Well, there's some of Fox.
Yeah, there is, but
It's in this township, right?
Just a small part, a couple blocks.
a couple blocks.
About 12 there. A little smaller.
First of all, I want to make sure that you folks have this, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt
go
you.
right ahead.
That you folks each have one of these, you've got them out there. That's the new transit plan for the county that shows what they currently want to do and how the Transportation Advisory Committee and the the Transportation Committee are suggesting for the county to
Refigure the program.
refigure everything. That might make a difference for you in the future, so make sure to look at this. There you go, Bob, for that one.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
And on your county map, which are available to you, I don't have any right now, but you do. There is on here, these are all of the fixed routes. I'm sorry. This is all the fixed routes and all of the dial-a-rides, all of MC ride. And on here, it says, it's on the other side. Communicate, start, MC ride, fixed bus routes, train, metro, specialized transportation. The following agencies provide additional transportation services for individuals with specific needs: Algonquin Township, Mchenry Township Express, PADS Homeless Service, Richmond Burton Township Bus, Senior Care Volunteer Network, and Veterans Assistance Commission. Here you go.
Yeah, and
It's all down there.
it's a free ride if they have the disabled RTA card, right?
No,
No.
half price.
It's a reduced fare.
It's a reduced fare card.
It's not free.
It's not free.
And that's RTA? Yes.
But the RTA has a free ride program,
Yes,
right?
you have to qualify for that through the Department of Aging. You have to file a report for it, and it's all best determined by
And
your
that-
ability to pay.
And also, it isn't just disabled, it's
No.
by income too.
No, I'm 65, I have a reduced fare on RTA.
Well, everybody does, right?
No,
That
you have
applies
to-
to the program.
If you apply to the program, you can get it. So that's half price there.
Okay. And
Reduced
that's half
fares
price on the fixed rides.
on the fixed routes,
Right.
that would be true.
And also the disabled have a free fare.
No,
No.
they have reduced fare. The only time you have free rides is if you apply for a free ride, and that's determined by your income.
Okay.
So there are a majority of people who have a free ride and are disabled, but it's not necessarily connected. If you want to have paratransit transportation that is door-to-door, that's going to be, I take it back, that's curb-to-curb too. It is a separate card and it's ADA, and then there's a specific cost to that, and it's within 3/4 of a mile of a fixed route only. Excuse me.
All right, so I'm trying to figure out how you personally fit into all this. You're part of the Pace McRide situation,
Right.
not the RTA per se.
Correct, not the RTA,
Although you do work in other counties.
correct.
All right.
Let me explain one thing. I start these programs, make sure that they are in compliance with all the rules, regulations. I set up the township or the unit of government. Once that unit of government has passed through an application, having the agreement approved by a board, and having all of the training done with their drivers, they have to be trained according to our specifications because it's a safety-sensitive position. Then I hand that all over to our van pool department, they do other checks on the drivers to make sure that they have a motor vehicle check. The municipality's already done a criminal criminal background check. Make sure that your insurance is covered, make sure that your audits are available and covered. That's audits specifically to your drug testing facilities. And they take care of everything else. So once I hand it over to them, that's our van pool department. I can get the information for you, but I might not have the information myself.
And you're talking about the McBride van pool.
That would be any van pool like this. I mean, anything, we are a third-party provider for the MC Ride program. We provide paratransit vehicles. What you folks are called champion vehicles or locally based service. It's a smaller vehicle than our MC Ride vehicles are. They are CDL, they require CDLs on those vehicles. You do not require CDLs on your vehicles.
So there's a certain number of rides for disabled people that the Mchenry Senior Express program could not accommodate.
Say that again?
There's a certain percentage of, how do you call these people, passengers, clients?
Your passengers, okay, your trips, your riders.
There's a certain percentage of passengers who have some kind of a disability that would preclude them from using the Senior Express program because we have the champion vehicles.
No.
Yes, actually, it would be only because some people who are disabled and have wheelchairs, ADA only requires so much space for a vehicle. You can only put 750 pounds of weight on the lifts on the paratransit vehicles. You would be precluded from doing that.
Okay, but we still pick up everybody that I'm aware of
Right.
that's in a wheelchair.
Right, if you have a wheelchair, it's when they've got the scooters, and then they've got a oxygen tank, and they are otherwise overweight themselves, that it becomes a problem.
So what's that call when you need a special vehicle? When someone calls McBride and says, I need that, what are they?
You have it. You have everything except the 750-pound limitation, because it's public transportation. You have to have a lift.
Yeah, but they apparently need a special vehicle for that, right?
A one that has a lift or a ramp, yes.
Okay. So what do those people call in? They say, I just need a lift?
If they are disabled and need a lift,
And then it
yes.
automatically goes into the specialized vehicle for them.
They're all specialized.
I think you're misunderstanding. They're all specialized. Her vehicles have a heavier capacity on the
Correct.
lift is the only thing than my vehicles. But my vehicles could virtually do anything her vehicles.
Yes,
All right.
and they're cheaper to run.
So the trend is what? More rides or less rides as time goes on?
The trend overall has been increasing for MC Ride since 2011. And back in those days, it was 89, 90,000. We've got 112, 115,000 anticipated this year and going up. That's one of the reasons that the transportation program is looking at different ways to be able to handle more people on transit of some kind than just MC Ride.
And if I can add one thing, the county transportation committee, the eventual, I don't know if we can ever get there, but the eventual goal is to have a county transportation system.
Yes.
The whole county that can be available to everybody, and then programs like ours could hopefully go away. But it takes a lot of money and a lot of planning to get there. And if you look on the back of that brochure there, by 2025 or something, they're trying to get to that point. The problem with McHenry County is we're so spread apart and so rural in areas, it doesn't work like a Schaumburg.
No, my comparison is to Kane County
Okay.
for regular fixed route public transportation. It's similar to us. Everybody's switched into the east side, because that's where the river is, that's where this, but in Kane County, you've got Aurora, 200,000 people. By the way, they also have a dial ride service. It's called Ride Kane. Ride Kane, yes. Not only does Aurora have 200,000 people and 15 or 16 fixed routes, Aurora Township has their own transportation, and they're part of Ride Kane and put in $600,000 a year to that program.
Aurora Township does.
Aurora Township does. Then you've got Elgin. Elgin has 100,000 people, so they get another 12 routes because of the number of people that they have for their area. And we have 300,000 plus maybe for the whole county. And our largest town is Crystal Lake. And it only has, it's the hub at the metro station. Everything always goes out of metro stations on a fixed route, except for the 550, and that connects down to the I-90 Express now. But otherwise, that's it, that's all there's been, and we recognize that it's a very expensive system to have anyway, even dial-a-ride, so we're working closely with the county to see what can be done. But again, as your supervisor says, that's gonna take some time. We have a new executive director who is very forward-thinking, so this things that county has wanted to change may be easier to change than it was in the past.
So what you're going to get back to us is the number of Mchenry Township rides
Yes,
for seniors and
Yes.
disabled.
On McRide, right? Is that what we're talking
On McRide.
on MC Ride, we can do that, yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm looking at these figures for the fuel hourly rate, which is under, it's on the first page of the McRide monthly cost summary for 2018.
Wait, I'm sorry. And where? Is it in this group? That group?
It's on the second page.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so what, okay. Now, this is what you're giving us, right?
Yes.
All right.
No, this is what the county has calculated.
The
It
county
does
has
reflect it reflects the bills that we send to you, the county.
All right, so your office had no hand in the preparation of any of this?
No.
Yes. Yes, to prepare this document is the county. The county gets the information from us when they get their bills, their itemized bills.
Okay. So, the number of total hours, that doesn't seem to have a seasonal fluctuation. It just has a fluctuation per month.
Yes.
What would account for that?
Because
I
there's-
know February is short by 3 days,
Well,
but,
yes.
but why is,
Because the buses are on the road from 6 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night.
okay,
So how many total hours are they out there? That's fairly consistent. How many people they pick up in those hours may fluctuate. But then, because as soon as you have somebody on the road from A to B, you're paying somebody from A to B to do it.
so there's an effort to prioritize the rides?
No, we can't.
Okay, so if somebody says, I need to go to dialysis versus I need to go and get my hair done,
Absolutely.
there's no
No,
difference?
I take that back. You can call 7 days ahead for medical appointments.
And those are prioritized?
In that respect, they are. It's only a capacity issue. It allows for people who have that kind of situation that they can call in 7 days ahead to make sure that they have space on that bus. There's a certain amount of capacity. In fact, sometimes some of the rides are, you have to have less than 50% of the people be disabled. You have to have it open to general public too. So
Okay.
that could change and be part of your denials.
Right, so does Mchenry Township Senior Express have that kind of a prioritization?
Certainly, we prioritize by dialysis, certainly, and doctor's appointments, yes. But we don't have while we may have a few refusals, we don't have many because we can accommodate normally.
So then there would be a figure you could easily come up with for us.
Which figure is that, doctors and stuff?
Yes.
Yes, I maybe you didn't hear me. I'm having our person look through the logs and he can find that out for you.
Okay.
It's gonna take him some time, you know, there's 4 or 5 logs a day, so.
And as you notice, the number of total hours remains relatively consistent because of the number of days in a month. But then you have the number of bus trips per month changes somewhat. Particularly as you can see here in October, it was way up. And then also last year, one of the things that you have to look at, looking at this is as of July 1st, we started the taxi service with.
I believe so.
Yes, they started, when we didn't have enough capacity on our buses, you could transfer that to a taxi ride. So it becomes even more expensive to do, but we were trying to do that, and the county realized that the cost of those trips was becoming
They're more expensive.
unsubstantiated, not sustainable. So there had to be a cap on that, or the money was going to run out. And so you see on the denial side, there are a lot more denials towards the end of the year than there were.
The county has found out that these taxi trips are more expensive.
Yeah,
Then
if
using-
you notice, in July, it was 42, and August, it was 358. Because of the cost of the taxis and the amount of money that is dedicated to each month of service.
Also, Mary, could you talk about, I know it's possibility of exploration, Uber and Lyft, et cetera, and how that might one day.
Someday, that might be something that we can use, but it turns out that with the contract that we have with taxis and Uber, that it's almost cheaper to be able to use the taxis. Because number one, most of, love to use that word, most, a lot of, Mchenry traditionally has had more Uber and Lyft drivers working in the Schaumburg and Chicago area than they do in the McHenry area. Also, Uber and Lyft drivers may be less accepting of people with disabilities, especially if they have a walker or a wheelchair, even if it's one of those that goes. So,
I thought they had to take them.
no.
No private
Uber
company.
and Lyft is private. That's the problem that we have with them, is that we would love to be able to use them at some point, but for them to contract with us, they have to pass our safety, security issues and our drug tests and other things. So we're trying to work with them.
Yeah,
as
they do in
possible.
other jurisdictions. Chicago, they can't refuse someone with a walker. Okay.
Well, if Lyft is doing it, then they're doing it on their own. They're not doing it through any program with PACES.
The pace doesn't really affect the city of Chicago, right?
Yes, it does. All of the disabled people, all of the paratransit is done
PACE?
by PACE for Chicago and the collar counties.
All right. So,
Excuse me. Just had a thought. There are some vehicles that Uber has access to. I don't know how they do it because they say they have no inventory, but there are certain vehicles that they have that are available to people, and they are wheelchair accessible. But I couldn't tell you how many, and I couldn't tell you where they go. Nor how much they would charge.
so under expenses for fuel costs, that's what PACE provided them?
Yes,
But there's how many vehicles in that, Mary?
there are 42 vehicles.
42 vehicles in that house.
to split out, the reason isn't higher is because you would have to split out the cost of the fixed routes during the day.
Well, does this take into effect other grants that PACE is receiving, federal, state? I mean, these figures, it's hard for me to understand what they really mean. Are these the expenses that PACE has paid, or are they the total expenses?
I'd have to go back and, I don't know. If you take the cost, it follows the agreement of what we're doing. We send out a bill for these amounts that break down in these amounts. No, because the county comes up with their funds as well, and that's not all the money that they use or they get to run the program. So they are getting extra help through grants and 5310 money and some other things. This is what it costs to run this program from PACE. We have union drivers everywhere. We hire in McHenry County. I'm the only PACE employee really who works here. Everybody else who drives the bus or works for First Transit. First Transit is a third-party provider, and they're union.
So the McRide program uses outside drivers, not PACE employees, per
Correct.
se.
But they have to meet all the requirements of
Yes.
PACE driver.
Yes. First Transit is our third-party provider in a number of areas.
Does First Transit provide any drivers in any of these municipalities and
No.
other townships? They
No.
do?
No, in fact, that's one of the benefits of having your own is that you can find, when I'm talking about this program, whatever hours you're going to work, when you're looking for drivers, how much do you want to pay them? Well, now I would say $12 to $15 an hour for the time they work.
We start at $12 an hour for a new employee.
You need at least 2 drivers qualified to drive one vehicle, 3 drivers for 2 vehicles, 3 drivers for 5, and it goes on because somebody's on vacation or somebody gets sick. You have to have somebody else available to be able to drive for them. It's perfect for people who are retired. You all have good driving records. You've gotten old enough, you know how. We've got it. Mama wants you out of the house. You want to be out of the house. You want to be able to talk to people. So you hire people for 4 or 5 hours in a day. So you have a lot of part-time people, but you're not paying for a lot of the other benefits that you might have to. Most of the people who are retired already have Social Security as well, so they have, and Medicare, so those things are covered, which aren't covered in this type of service, in MCI type of service.
Does McHenry Township pay anything to the call center, to use the PACE call center?
Yes, we do.
Yes, $300 a month.
That's in one of our grants that is covered by the county in a grant from them.
That's right, your senior services
Yep,
grant?
it's on the list, too. Here somewhere. McHenry Township call center costs.
And that total paid subsidy, just a couple of columns above that, is that money coming in or money going out from PACE?
That's the amount of money that PACE has contracted to put towards all the service.
Okay, so that's what that's out for.
Right.
What does imputed fares mean?
Let me, you can,
It's sort of under the total operating service cost.
okay, liquidated damages, imputed fares. Imputed fares, I believe, I got imputed correctly, because I know liquidated damages come in. I know there are times when what is in the contract for service isn't provided. For instance, you're supposed to be able to get to some place by 2 o'clock and the bus never, or the vehicle never comes, or they can't take care of the number of vehicles. I'd have to go back and look it up, but those are part of liquidated damages that say, you didn't fulfill your contract, so you owe us, meaning MC Ride. Imputed fees, I don't exactly know otherwise what that would be. Tickets and passes.
Well, some figures are in negative, some are in italics, some are just straight. I'm trying to figure out what it all means, because it
Okay,
doesn't
the
make any sense.
Tickets and passes are the tickets and passes that you can buy from the county. Those are not for profit. They're $3 or $3.25 a piece, and they take you as far as the trip goes. It
Right.
doesn't cover, it's not $3 plus 25 cents a mile, it's for that ride. So let's say somebody from Turning Point has it, or somebody from Port Services has it, that ride, whether it's 3 miles or 15 miles, it's gonna be worth that money, and that's the difference in the cost.
So is it really a ticket or is it a voucher?
It's a voucher. I don't think these has,
Well,
No.
No, they have passes.
in general accounting.
Well, then, in accounting terms, it'd be a voucher, yes.
Yeah, okay. Because they have no set value until they're used, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, the imputed fares, these are, it looks like some months they're positive amounts and other months they're negative, but
I
is
can't,
that just a mistake in how you italicize it?
I cannot tell you what that is.
So, under liquidated damages, I assume these are they're all costs.
I would think that would be true.
So who are you paying this to? In other words, none of this money would go to Mchenry Township
No,
under imputed fares.
no. It's a decrease in the county, in what the county has to pay. The county bills the units of government for their share. So you would have to talk to the county about that.
Okay. So that's a figure that the county came up with. It had nothing to do with PACE per se. I'm not gonna question on things you had nothing to do with.
Right. Most of what you've been asking me today is stuff that I really don't have control over.
Okay, all right. So, under this deficit, it says PACE subsidy.
Yes.
All right, so what that total amount is month is the deficit.
Yes.
That's not being paid by some grant, I take it?
No, that's the 53% of the deficit is part of the $901,000 that PACE approved for funding last year, which was 53%, and the county paid 47%. In 2019, it's 50-50, and those funds are, that's going to increase.
All right, so it really shouldn't, that figure that says deficit and it goes across the first month, January, that really shouldn't be deficit, it should just be expense, total expenses.
Well, you'd have to talk to my operating department.
These are accountants doing this, Steve, so I understand what you're saying, and I would tend to agree with you, yeah.
Okay. So does the McRide program ever turn over rides to Senior Express from the call center that are not seniors or
No,
disabled?
they will
No.
never send anybody
They have to
who's
be
not
qualified.
They have to be seniors or disabled.
And first, they have to call here first, need to be qualified. And if they're not on our list, then by accident, they would send them to us, we wouldn't take care of them.
Right.
And I take it there's no handoff things, like McHenry Township will just take them to a certain point and then McRide will get the person and take them the rest of the way.
It
There
be.
could be, but not that my knowledge, it's never happened.
I wouldn't know of any reason that you,
I wouldn't, well,
depending on where you're
if they
staying
needed to go,
within the
if they
township.
needed to go, no, I mean, I understand what Steve said. If they needed to go to Huntley per se, we could take them to some McWrights. No, they were in the program. They would take McWright to begin with.
In Huntley, yes, they'd be.
No, I mean, Mchenry Township's in the program, so we wouldn't pick them up. McWright would pick them up, but we're in the program.
Correct.
So, yeah.
They go through the dispatcher? Is
Yeah, that goes
Yeah.
through them, yeah.
Yes, because your rides are all inter-county.
Correct.
Inter-township.
Inter-township. So, no, we wouldn't pass off because we're already in the program. They would pick them up directly.
Okay. So is there a part that's cut off? Does mine just stop?
Well, that's what I got, and I don't, that's all the county sent me, and that's exactly how it looks, Steve. That's the way I got it. And you're right, the bottom column there's a little bit hard to read. I don't know if there's more to this report, and I didn't get it, I can ask.
Well, it seems like there is, because if it follows above, there'd be another pay subsidy.
Well, I think what they were trying to show me was the McRide monthly cost summary, which is at the top part there. And then you go into the taxi service, and I can ask if there's more, I don't know.
So is this
There
taxi
is
program?
more, there is more for the whole county. I mean, that's what this is, even though when you're looking at all these figures, you're looking at the whole county figures and the taxi ride figures. They can give you that. It's going to be in a spreadsheet you're going to need a very large, you're
Sheet.
going to have to see it on a board.
Okay.
Because it's so small, even on a long piece of paper,
Can't see it.
it's so tiny. I may have one, I'm not sure.
What? Is this taxi program still in operation?
Yeah, it just started in July.
It just started in July, and we were talking about that, Steve. That's,
Yeah, I know you're talking about it, but they said the cost was becoming so
Oh, no,
prohibitive, they were cutting it out. So
no, they
No,
didn't
no,
say
no,
that.
they didn't cut it out, they just
Capped.
limited the
They
number
capped it.
of rides, so it increased the number of denials by
They capped it
limiting
because
the
they only
number
had
of
so much
rides.
money.
So is it so many a month, or so
Yes.
many period, and then everything is denied after it reaches the cap?
Yes, it should be.
Per month?
Per
Not-
month.
What did
But
happen?
this has
Wait.
never happened
This is the first
before.
time we just started running it.
Okay.
And so it did, you're right, it got all cut off at the end of the year because they didn't realize it was gonna cost this much. Now it's going to be a monthly cap, I believe.
All right.
Yes, that is true. Here is what the problem was. The billing cycle is,
Is not,
it's not an easy
Right.
thing. July figures don't get sent in until August, maybe the beginning of September, then it has to be looked at, so it doesn't go out until October. So when the July figures came in October, they said, whoa, whoa. But it was hard to fix that because you already had July and August and September in those inflated numbers. And to try to figure that out and fix it, that's when you started getting the larger number in the denials because they caught up with it. In other words, they have always capped the monthly rides to a certain extent, and we didn't cap the taxi rides in the same manner. We will this year, so it should be okay.
well, how familiar are you with the McHenry Senior Express program?
I started the program back when, and after that, it's been its own.
Yeah, I'm the one that would be the most familiar with it.
So you don't get complaints necessarily at all? from
Oh, no.
anybody?
No. If
You're
we-
just sort of out of the picture
No,
now?
if we had complaints, if anybody wanted to file a complaint because it went through our call center, they could call because they would call anyway, and it would come to you. So otherwise your reporting is yours. If we get any
Correct.
reports in place, we do. And actually on MC Ride, it's like every place else, it has to do with on-time pickups and drop-offs.
Do you know why they have the fuel as hourly rate instead of just,
Part of the contract with First Transit. We get our fuel at a discount because we're a unit of government.
you mean there are no taxes to it?
No, there we go, hold on.
No.
Or you get it as a discount because you buy so much per year and
That's true, we do it on
contract for it?
contract.
So the reason why that number isn't uniform is that,
Well, the number of days that you're running
you
in,
use more on certain days than other days
Yes.
and all that.
and don't, it wasn't running on Sundays last year either, and so the number of days in a month that it actually runs are different.
Yeah, they just started more service, right?
January, yeah. And included Fox River Road.
Would it save money if Mchenry Township got its gas the same way you guys do?
You can't
I
get it through
I
us.
can't get in on their contract.
What ways can you think of that would save money for Mchenry Township? Senior Express.
You can cut your hours. You can, cut your days. Some places don't do it. A lot of places that I work with go 9 to 3 during the week and don't have senior service. Don't have service on weekends.
What is our reason for having the Sunday service?
We had a request from a lot of seniors that wanted, there was no service at that time when we started ours. The county just started theirs.
Just started.
And actually, I am trying to work with the county to eliminate our Sunday service because they now have something. They didn't when we started ours. So
So that might be a way.
I would eliminate Sunday service once I can work this out with the county.
And increase the cost, or
Or-
your fares.
I already think we should increase the
Yeah.
cost. I will go on record as
So
saying that.
that's three things we can think of.
You can think of.
Increase the fares, stop Sunday, and you also mentioned advertising on the vehicles.
I don't know that I can
No,
do
you
that.
can't.
Well, she said cut hours, too, cut hours,
Cut
cut days,
hours.
she said, what you just presented.
So maybe it would be 9 to 3 instead of 8 to 3 would save something, but you'd have to figure out what that is.
Well, during the week, it'd be hard to cut hours if most of the people are going to doctor's appointments and such.
Well, we don't
But
know that.
nobody
We don't
goes
know
to
yet.
doctor's
We
appointment.
don't know,
We're
we
gonna
don't
get-
know, we don't know
we're
where
gonna
we're
get you that-
going.
We're gonna get you that
If
info.
we're gonna find out, right?
Yes.
Yes, we don't know that at this time.
The one other thing you could do, but it's going to be really, really tight for people who are seniors on a fixed income and disabled, is that you increase the fare to $3, which would be the base fare of MC Ride. And then you would be eliminating the 25 cents a mile after the 5 miles, and you can see if that would make a difference.
we
Does
could-
that evens out the playing field?
We could do that, but I'd want to have a caveat with that. If someone was very low income, we would make some kind of determination that they are. And
Well, and you can do it.
oh, you know what? I can't anyways.
$2
because-
now, $3,
Yeah,
and two.
it's a donation
$2.50,
anyways, but I could increase it to 3. You're correct.
And see
Or
how
two.
many people
I
call
wouldn't-
and object.
I wouldn't triple the price to start. I would double it to 2.
Double it, but I mean, the thing is, it's a donation, so the people that can't afford it,
You're
Don't have
correct.
to pay it anyway.
You're correct. You're absolutely right.
but they'll bring something in.
Yeah, they will still try to give something. You're
Right.
correct.
And I'd rather see something like that than just throw the baby out with the bathwater, you know?
And do you know how many people do not donate?
I suppose if I went through all the walks so that I could
No,
figure it
I
out.
understand.
But it's very few. It's very
Very
few.
few.
And then I do notice that, and Steve saw that on the sheet, it's true. It's $1 fare, right? Or a
Right.
$1 donation. Well, when it gets near the end of the month and they don't have Social Security, I'll get 15 cents because they want to put something in, but they don't
Sure.
have the dollar.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And that's why you have donations instead of fares.
Well, we have to have donations due to our federal grant.
Right, no, I get that,
Yeah.
but rather than call them fares.
Right. Well, that's why we call them donations, not fares.
Okay.
And there's no mileage at all. In other words, for our service, they don't charge more for a really long, or ask for a donation.
We do not.
For a really long ride versus just a very short ride. it's all,
We do not.
Well, it has to be within the township.
Has to be
so I
within
mean,
the
there's
township,
no
so-
law rights
So the
anywhere.
township is
well,
already-
it isn't within the township, you're taking people to, like, the Centegra Hospital and so on, right?
Well, it's just over the line, just into London, only because that's where the hospital is.
Well, I'm trying,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're correct.
I'm just
You-
trying to be
but-
precise in
but-
the language that we use here.
What you can do in your brochures is set your area, this is where you're going to go, and you can stay inter-township except for specific.
Right.
Like, Northwest Medicine
Northwestern.
in
Right.
Mchenry.
Right.
But you're not gonna go to the one in Woodstock, or you're
Right.
not going to go to Woodstock to do this or that.
Right.
That you specify outside of your normal limits. Units of government do that all the time.
And while we don't have it
And
spec-
mostly it's hospitals.
while we don't have it specified, the only place we do go, we could
Right,
specify it.
Right, so that you can do something like that, but then you, again, you can limit wherever, and I just lost my train of thought, I'm sorry.
So, there's no intergovernmental agreement affecting Richmond, Burton, or any other township with us as far as this
As far as
Senior
transportation,
Express.
there is not.
Well, this gives us some information, but I realize it's
I'm
okay for the
limited.
county, and
Right,
you have nothing really to do with it, except that the figures were originally supplied by Pace on some of the lines.
correct.
So we see that the trend is going up.
Yes. And that's due to an aging population.
Also, Steve, and I want to interrupt for 1 second, I apologize, but in our thing, somewhere, it's on this behind insurance, I believe. Behind the insurance document, Carol Pershing was at our last meeting and said she would get these numbers for us. It shows that Mchenry Township, when you're doing this by parcel, that are receiving the senior freeze on their taxes, that we have 28.6% per capita, and that's one of the highest per capita senior population in all the townships, all the big townships. When you get to some of the littler townships, they have a higher per capita, but they don't have that many parcels as well. So, but out of Algonquin,
It
Nunda,
only shows the ones that are under the income, right, for the senior freeze?
correct. This would only show the ones, this isn't all the seniors, this just gives you an idea of the ones that would have more of a financial hardship than the other ones.
Well,
And
are you talking about the freeze or the senior exemption?
I'm talking about the
Senior freeze.
senior freeze. You used to have to be $55,000 or below to get that freeze. So that's from, what these numbers were from 2017. So 28.61% of the people by parcels are in Mchenry Township are seniors that are under that income level.
You know, it's really a misnomer to call it the senior freeze. I know that's what they
I
do.
don't know what you want to call it. Okay.
Yeah, because somebody's gonna end up having to pay the differential. They just want to have to pay it annually, right?
No, it just freezes their value. It doesn't necessarily freeze their taxes.
Right. So and so a lot of people who could have done that program aren't even on it.
Well, yeah, so the number might even be higher, correct, I don't know.
But you have to redo that every year.
You have to do it every year.
Yeah, but this doesn't,
This is for only the 2017 numbers, the
There-
2018
there are
numbers are not in
people-
yet.
yeah, There are people who don't know, don't care, haven't heard, don't read.
Right.
They are not as
This is
astute
just to
as you
give you
are.
a representation of what we see here of the people taking it. That's what I'm saying.
And these are the people who can't get around any other way. I can guarantee you in McHenry County, if you can't have your car, you'll take your garden crack. If you can't get the garden crack, you'll find a goat. If you can find somebody else who will drive you, they will drive you. Because taking a bus is those people. And that's very unfortunate. At least our populations are old and disabled, and they're not just poor. They don't do it for fun. You do it in Chicago because you can't afford to park a car.
well, along with this figure should be the total population of These are just taxpayers, okay? Right? Taxpayers who are paying.
These are just persons, yes, that are
They're
paying
property owners.
They're property
They're
owners.
Yeah.
property owners.
So
Those are
they-
property owners.
so
You're
they-
right, I don't have this, I can get you the total senior population of Mchenry Township, I believe, somehow.
But not just the total senior population, but the actual population of the township. I know we're heading to a new census, so those figures might be old.
Well, right now, we're at about, I believe I have the, no, that's persons. Total residential's here, 22,042. No,
Right.
the population is approximately 49,000 at the township the last time I looked. And it probably will, I don't know where it's gonna go at the next census.
Yeah, okay, so of that 49,000 some people, we're talking about less than 0.005% that are actually using the express services.
This has nothing to do with using the express services. This is just people.
No, I know, but we go by rides, okay?
But how many seniors are in that 49,000 and disabled? I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter because I only serve seniors and disabled on my bus. No one else can ride it.
No, you're talking about
What is the age of a senior?
60, right?
We don't really.
No, I think it's lower than that. I think
No, it's lower than that. I
It's,
want to say that,
it's
for
55.
seniors, well, for senior services, right. Anyone turning 50 and disabled can get services.
Right, that's
But they're limited. You're not actually
So you go as low
considered
as 50 years old?
as low as 50.
For
And
the-
then at 55, there's some other services that are available. And then once they hit 60, there's even more.
And there are, 60 is what MC Riding is.
Right.
What was it, Mary?
60.
For the
60,
bus,
that's
it's
right, it's
60.
60.
RTA is 65.
Right.
Such a variation.
Well, and it depends upon what service they're looking for. So some places consider a senior at 50, AARP, for instance. You're a senior at 50. You'll get your
That's a
car.
pretty young person these days, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Depends
It
what
just seems
50
like we're,
Relatively
Yeah.
this is what I'm finding my whole life. You know, I never saw this stuff when I was born, all this stuff here. But now, you know, one time we called a senior was 65,
Right.
but now we're lowering the bar and it's, well, you know, it'll be
Right.
40 next, but in 50 is.
Yeah, it just
I'm a
depends.
pretty young person.
Yeah,
Oh,
it just
yeah,
depends
it's kinda
upon what
interesting when I
service
see
you're
these
looking for,
numbers.
what they
Yeah.
consider
Well,
it.
and
I've got one.
the other thing
It's worth the
that
publish or the district.
I don't know whether you do or not is you qualify your disabled people. If you don't qualify them, that's something to talk about. It's very difficult, though, if you're going to use the RTA standard for disability, that's hard. It's hard for people to qualify. But,
We can pretty much tell by picking them up if they qualify to our standards,
yes,
okay?
and I will tell you that when the RTA comes back every 4 years and asks somebody who's been blind since birth if you're still blind, but that's actually more of a way to make sure that somebody else isn't using a deceased person's card. But those kind of things can happen. But there are ways that if you want to limit it, you can limit it. I would tell you that with the service that you have that is considered a very good job that you're doing in your township, you'll have a lot of blowback from your seniors. Some will say, well, it's like, why are you taking this away from me? We have it all the time at PACE. I mean, at any time that people have service and you take service away, there's gonna be blowback, and that's just the way that is.
And that's expected, and that's one of my positions I've taken as activist for a good share of my life is that as government keeps projecting and giving out these services, the more people you get there, and everybody likes to take them. They don't want to pay for them, basically. Somebody else has got to pay for them. And another example is I have another customer who's headed for Tennessee. He's headed for Tennessee because he can get a $7,000 pay increase, and it's going to come off of his tax bill. And this is why I continue to bring my voice up wherever I can, is that we are in a crash course? How much can we continue to offer? There's always somebody that can use the service. But somewhere along the line, as far as I'm concerned, with these tax bills getting more and people leaving, young people are leaving, somewhere along the line that we have to find a way, wait a minute, how much can we actually give? And one of the arguments I made, Mary, about this, and I'm sure you heard about it, and I brought up in December, is that this whole bus service we're talking about is not a mandated service of township government.
Okay,
There's 3 mandated services, it's not
I know.
busing. I
But
know it's a
general
great service,
assistance-
but somewhere along the line, this stuff is keep evolving and evolving. And I look at my own lifetime, when I came here to Wonder Lake, this area, these services weren't here.
right.
Somehow, somebody survived, okay? I'm not saying we don't need some, but I'm saying that we gotta find a way to cut some of these back and go back. And take the heat from people, no, you can't always get what you want.
I absolutely understand that. I was only using that as long as you're expecting that, that's fine. But it can be argued that the transportation that you offer to seniors and disabled, because it's in the statutes, and that's the reason that you can do what you can do, it's part of, if not specific to, your general assistance, because those people don't have cars or are sick. They aren't doing it for fun, to get from here to there. This year, you'll be able to get all the way out to the Railway Museum on an MC ride. Well, that's gonna be an MC ride trip no matter what, and it's still going to cost them a lot of money. But if somebody's gotta get to the doctor, or they can't get to the grocery store, or they can't get to their place of worship, and I'll use that as just a leveler here, is that if you can't stay in your own place and survive, then you have to rely on other services, and then it is going to be an expense in your general assistance and other things that you have to do, or we all have to pay for those people to be institutionalized. For every dollar that you keep somebody in their home, they say that it saves the taxpayer $9 or $10 in ancillary services. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just saying that there's other ways to look at it that make this kind of thing important to what a township does to stay connected with the local people. You're not going to get that same kind of service when you go to MC Ride, and that's going to be more difficult for them and more difficult for the people who need it the most. And because you have to share that. You don't have to share this. This is for the things that you are listed as doing. Because it's Dillon's law. If it's not stated in the statutes, you can't do it. That's what McHenry County says. That's what most townships go by. Some townships don't. They say, no, we need to be able to do it anyway, and they'll go ahead and take on more people than said. But seniors and disabled are part of the whole situation of township government too. So it's there. You need to be able to use it to the best of your ability and the most cost-effective way. But to get rid of that and to give it up, it would be unfortunate. I'm sorry.
But yet Nunda Township did get rid of it.
I'm sorry?
But Nunda Township did get rid of it.
Nunda Township had its own bus too. They used ours, but they did, for the cost, it was not cost-effective for them.
Was that when you were on the board?
I was not on the board.
Mary, how many states have township government?
I know there are a number that don't.
Most of them don't.
Yeah, I think
And
Thomas
somehow they
Jefferson would
survive,
have a
and some of
really
these
hard
things,
time.
they must still have seniors in those areas.
And some
They do.
states have completely gotten rid of townships.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's another conversation, Joe.
It is.
Right.
It's a
But I'm-
different
but I just want to
conversation.
rebuttal what
And
you're
I
saying,
will
is I
also,
don't
no,
mind
but
it,
I
you
will
know,
also
but-
remind you
but
that this is
there-
Illinois.
There's other ways, you know.
That's the problem.
That's part of the
Yeah.
problem. If it wasn't Illinois, I think Indiana doesn't, Ohio doesn't, Iowa doesn't, there's probably a whole bunch more, but they don't have the kind of structures that, or impediments that Illinois has. That's the only thing I'm saying. No, I understand. Jefferson.
You're talking
would
about
be
our gas?
rolling in his, that too.
The impediment, yes,
Hey.
there's a lot of different ways to go.
Yes. I'm on the outside of that, you know, I'm going to be retiring in a couple of years when I turn 70, and it's going to be, I don't know if I'll be able to stay here for the same reason a lot of other people are.
It's the same
But-
thing. Yeah, I hear, I talk
But
all too
that's
often.
not the township's fault. The township,
Therein lies the problem right there.
Well, we can argue about all it's all part of it, okay? You gotta start someplace, but there is, you know, there's just, you know, whatever you want to take
start
away
at home
from
and
it.
make sure everybody saves all their money so they don't have an issue.
Well, we got too many people
Yeah.
going on. We got all these gambling stations where people could take care of themselves when they get a little older, but now they'll spend their money there, they want to ride later on too.
There you go.
I know that.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
I've seen that in my life.
Let's get back to the, let's get
My
back to the
soapbox
topic.
is over here, and your soapbox
I
is over
think-
there, but we're talking
Yeah,
about the
I
same
think
thing.
we're done.
Are we done with Mary?
Thank you.
Unless there are any more?
Any more questions for Mary?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will get you the information that I can
Mr.
get you.
Raker has one question.
Oh, certainly.
On the second page, liquidated damage, I didn't, I must not have heard what you.
Okay. What that is in general is if First Transit does not fulfill their part of the contract with PACE for the service, then they are charged by a section in that contract, liquid damages for what it is they didn't do. So that means that First Transit isn't getting paid that amount of money.
They didn't pick up
So their
the clock
contract
time
says
or
you get
something.
$100,000, you screwed up, you're only gonna get 70.
So that could apply to us.
No.
No.
No, that's
No,
not right.
that's part of the whole contract.
Okay.
So anybody who has the contract with the county would benefit or not benefit from that because it follows.
Okay, well, the only question I have about it is they're relatively close in cost all along the month of the year, except for September and November. And I was wondering why there was such a wide variation for those 2 months.
Part of that was
They're probably cutting service, I would think.
they had to start cutting service in September. Or they started,
capped it.
you're going to find, where you're gonna find it is in the taxi service.
That's what you're looking at, Steve.
Because you've got the top part is how much they were spending for MC ride, and the bottom part would be what they were paying for taxi service, and the two together were like $100,000 and some odd together.
Yeah, but apparently December wasn't available for us, right?
When this was done.
That's not like it was cut off or
No.
anything.
No, this was not cut off at that time. That was all that there was.
I don't even know that we have December yet, do we?
It just came out.
Oh, it just came out. There you go, there's your answer.
Yeah, Scott can give you that.
Okay.
Scott can send you the sheet that shows this information for everybody that you electronically send it. It'll be easier to look at
Got it.
if you can get it. Or Susan.
Got it. Okay, are we done with Mary now? So she's been here.
Yes.
Thank you, Mary, for all
Thank
your
you.
time. I appreciate
It's
it.
my job. I hope I didn't confuse anybody. I certainly didn't mean to
Oh,
insult. I did certainly couldn't. I think
Transportation is
it's
a
good.
very technical problem.
Expensive.
And expensive, yes.
It's expensive.
It's expensive.
It is expensive. No one would argue with that, about that.
But it's,
But, you hear?
no,
Thank you for your service, sir.
Does Mr. Militello?
I know, I saw you walk in. Perfectly okay. Thank you for your service. Got it?
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you for your service. I've seen you before.
Like where?
Down in Algonquin. You were there 1 year for the veterans thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing you. Let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. You take care.
You're shaking like you're a politician or something.
No, I'm still standing. No blood.
goodbye, I hope the rest of the day is better for the morning
Mr.
bus.
Militello has a copy.
He does right now.
All right, so now we're going on to this TORMA communication. Where, is it okay with me to say this is the declarations page?
I believe it is, yes. Under,
That one. This would be the declaration
it says declarations on it.
page. Where you have it signed off by the declaration.
What page are you on?
These last two pages appear to be a declaration page.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, I don't see anywhere on there where this bus service is on there, buses. It says, I realize it says automobile, business automobile liability, but I don't see anything about bus liability.
Steve, we're covered under it. I can tell you that I have to report it to them every year. I fill a new application every year, which I just finished. They're very well aware of it, and we've had a few minor bus accidents, and they've covered us, so we're covered. Maybe it's under the automobile, I don't know, but
There is on the second page of that document, it appears to be an RMA-14, business automobile liability form. So I would assume coverage grants to which these declarations apply. So there may be some backup, I would assume, information.
I'm sure there is, if I wanted to, that's what they normally give me, but, you know.
Well, I would like that RMA to be given to our
I think
attorney.
I think your business automobile
I
liability
think
is
we're
going
on
to cover.
business
But
automobile
for the
liability.
details for what Steve's talking about, you're going to be.
You want what, RMA what?
RMA 14
Okay,
and then RMA 15.
I will ask them for
So we're also got insurance for the collision on these buses.
Yes, we do.
So that comes under property,
I would think it would be under,
where the limits aren't going to exceed the value.
Yes.
yeah, correct.
Now, since you are also the county, you have to be certified by the county health authority, right?
For what?
For the food service?
I don't have a food service.
I thought you were certified.
I'm a certified food sanitation person, but I don't need to be. It has nothing to do with the township necessarily.
Well, I'm just trying to figure
We
out.
have meals that are provided by Catholic Charities down there, and they are covered under the county for that. Not me.
So the Salvation Army doesn't have the Golden Diners program anymore?
It's not a Salvation Army program anymore. It's now Catholic Charities out of the Chicago Diocese doing the same program.
Chicago?
Chicago Diocese. Don't ask me why. That's the way it is. They already did Lake County, and they chose, anybody can bid on the contract, and they bid on the contract, and we're awarded it. So if you're asking me food liability, Steve, they're the ones that have food liability. And that would not be under my policy, that'd be under their policy.
So why are we paying for you? I'm just asking.
I'll tell you, I have a food sanitation certification certificate just in case, because this hall is the class, I don't know what it is, a low-class risk if people bring food in here.
To
Catering license, and I just happen to have it to be safe. If someone would cater and bring the food in, my responsibility would be to make sure it is up to a certain temperature that doesn't have bacteria. Which I do for general parties we have here.
What kind of thing do you have to do? What's entailed in your inspection?
It's basically a temperature inspection. If food is 136 degrees or above, it should not have any bacteria in it when it's being served. And that's my duty for the township hall. That's it. The caterer has all the other liability. If there's something else wrong with it, that's their problem.
So somebody comes in and the food is 108.
I refuse them to tell them I have to take it back. That's my responsibility.
Ice cream.
Has to be 180.
It has to be 136 degrees though.
Very mushy.
Yes.
And my cost for that license is very minimal. My certification is like $60 for 10 years or something like that.
So to run 4 buses, picking up elderly and disabled people and put them on the roads, the township is only paying $1,000 for all 4 of them.
That's exactly what the insurance agent told us, came directly from them. Yep.
So when this lady from Torma said the assumption of the 99,750 estimated payroll for the drivers,
That's through the workman's comp that you have to have on people. She's she's estimating the payroll versus what our liability would be, I guess.
Right, but your letter to her doesn't even say how many people are involved, so where is she?
Because she has the people, Steve, she has it on her application, we have to turn it in.
We have to submit that.
We have to submit all that, we submit all our employees, what they make.
Okay, so this estimated payroll is another document that's used based on.
Correct.
Okay.
She's based on a percentage of that payroll, I would believe.
So can you give us a breakdown then of these added costs into how much per ride?
I can,
It's another almost 11,000.
sure.
And I, I find that coverage to be great if you've got it.
That's why we have total coverage. It's the best policy we can find anywhere, and that's, we can't do any better. It's a mutual, Steve. It's a mutual.
Yeah, but that's why we want to see those RMs to make sure we
Sure.
really are covered
Sure,
for
no
it.
problem, but they've never denied a claim that we've had, so but we'll get the RMs for it.
Well, there's a potential for catastrophe. I'm asking Mr. Militello to give his opinion about, since it's this low, okay, maybe we should investigate the $5,000 and $10,000 coverage, or sorry, the $5 and $10 million availability. Because you could have as many as how many people on these buses?
14, I believe, with the driver.
So, is that, in his
Oh, we can certainly.
legal opinion, a fit amount of coverage, given the potential liability for the township?
Let's look at that, and well, you're kind of saying, are we underinsured?
Right.
That's what he's saying.
Okay, I understand that question, and it's something we can certainly look at.
And in fact,
That's a good point.
and in fact, does Toyma understand that these bus people are going door to door?
Yes, they do.
Well, and that's the basis of what, some written communication you have with them, or that's gonna be in the RMD, I don't know. But if you're actually carrying things for people and putting them into their garage and maybe their house, I should think the liability would have to increase. Because that's why PACE doesn't do it, because the liability was too high, right?
That's
You
my
bring up an
understanding, I
issue.
don't know.
You have two issues. The one issue regarding the vehicle getting into an accident with multiple people on a vehicle, one issue. Being out of your vehicle, helping or assisting somebody with something is a separate issue where you have an individual who gets hurt helping another individual while workers' comp. Two different policy pieces. I mean, part of the policy, but the policy pieces.
Or somehow the passenger gets hurt because of something the driver did carrying stuff. I don't know, but I just want to make sure that since we're doing these non-usual things, that the township is covered.
I will confer with Mr. Militello, and I will send the insurance carrier the specifics of what you're saying.
And
In
also,
writing.
yeah, and also ask how much it would be for options, these options for hire.
Yes, additional increases, I can do that. Additional limits.
In fact, maybe all the limits should be checked out by the attorney.
I have no problem with that, Mr. Militello, if you'd like to check out all of them.
I see bridges are on here, but it's only 50,000. I don't know what. If somebody gets killed, the bridge comes down. I mean, seems like maybe these are all standard coverages. I don't deal with these kind of things. But And I assume the parks are all covered too, right?
Correct. Every township is covered. Yeah, I see that. Most of them.
So for vandalism, when they spoke of locking the garbage and getting surveillance and stuff, so there's a vandalism coverage?
I'm sure there is, I know there is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I see there's a special mosquito abatement. But there's not an RMA for that.
Well, actually, on mosquito, I can find out for that for you, but mosquito abatement, they have to provide their own multi-million-dollar policy to us, holding us harmless.
I mean, as a named insured.
Correct.
Are those run by the township attorney?
I think I don't know that they have been, but I'd be happy to run them past them.
So maybe in your RMA one form, regional liability form, which is covering some of this.
And I think we need the MRA 19, the inland marine form, because some of the township property is on the water.
No, inland marine may cover certain things like certain equipment. I don't know that we have anything on the water, do we, Jim?
I got a boat that I got last, no, just
No, like this, what's it, that park that's on the actual, some
by the
channel?
road.
Oh,
That's on the water. You got a boat ramp there?
I don't know. Do you want me to, why don't I just give you all the RMAs? How's that?
Well, not just us, how about giving them to Mr. Miller?
Oh, yeah, yes, that's what I meant by that.
And the cyber liability is really in regard to the general assistance?
No, cyber liability is due to all our computers there. If somebody would somehow hack in and destroy our information somehow, for the day would be the only thing that would hurt us because everything's off-site. We have coverage for that.
Well, what about coverage for these people that apply for general assistance or emergency assistance? And then that information is somehow out.
That would be covered under that.
Why do we even have employee dishonesty coverage? That would never happen.
It's a general insurance.
There's no humor in that. Let's not waste our time with that.
That's where we got the vote.
It's not funny.
Well, your boat thing was.
Wasting time on this, isn't it?
It's not wasting time. We're trying to figure out what the liabilities of the township are, okay? Apparently, this has never been done by prior boards. So I think we have a perfect right
Okay.
to go into what we've
No,
been handed
Steve,
and ask questions
You
about it.
certainly do, but I also have to point out to you, Torma representatives come out here about once every 2 years, look over all our properties and all our assets, and recommend the coverages that they suggest that we have. It isn't just us saying, oh, just give us this policy.
Okay, I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Thanks for providing the information.
You're welcome.
So, going to the assessor's gas, I know this isn't your department, but the question I have is, I don't know what year these cars are, so maybe some of these, for 2008, it's a new car and therefore there isn't any gas. used for it.
No, in some months, they're not using an electric car, that's why there's no gas for some months. For some period of time, they don't have to fill it up because they're not using it a lot.
They're not out measuring properties.
They're not out measuring properties,
When there's 3 foot, 2
and
foot
some of those
snow on the
months,
ground is-
or they don't need 3 people out measuring properties, some of those.
So that means the car wasn't used at all in 2018, or it was new? I'm just trying to understand
Where are we talking about?
this bull
First
escape.
two.
Oh, I don't know, I can't,
Grass gate.
I don't know that, I don't know where those numbers came from. No, that was a new car, that was a new car.
Okay, so that explains that.
This was also a fairly new car, 2018 probably, and this one's been around for a while.
Okay. Now, on the fuel page. Because there's such a precise amount given, $19,530.69, I presume that somehow or other, we have a figure for the gallons of gasoline that we use.
Yes, we do, we take an average cost per month, is how we determine that.
Average cost per month.
Because maybe the tank gets filled up today and it's $2.40 a gallon to us, and then the tank gets filled up 2 weeks from now and it's $2.60 a gallon. So we average that to come up with the average monthly cost of the fuel.
Yeah, but even though the price may have a differential, I'd still like to know what the total gallons used are.
I can give you the total gallons used, I have that, but I didn't. Steve, I have log sheets just like this, look at them, that show exactly the gallons and what vehicle they went into.
Okay, we don't have those.
You didn't ask me for those, you asked me for the price, that's what I gave you.
No, I asked how the costs were figured, okay?
You just asked me that now.
All right, so this is gonna be a hiding game, if I
No, it's
don't
not a hiding
specifically
thing.
ask
You're
for
asking
it.
me for 10 million documents, Steve.
I'm not asking for 10
I
million
can't provide 10 million things. Every time I come to a meeting, you want something different. You give me a list of what you want, I'll give it to you.
I'm giving you a list now, I wanna know how many gallons are used.
I just told you, I just said I would get it for you.
Okay, so it's not a million, it's one thing.
It's 1, 2, 5, 10 things every meeting, Steve.
Yeah, right, okay. Don't we have a right to ask for it?
Yeah, I didn't say you didn't have a right. I'm just saying, don't expect me to have it here at the meeting.
Well, how about this, whenever you give us figures, tell us what the backup, what is. You don't necessarily have to bring it, but we at least have to know what it's based on.
It's based upon the log sheets from that every time they fill up with gas, and I have the log sheets right here attached to some of them, okay?
Okay.
I just don't make these numbers up.
No one said you did. Okay, I didn't even think you were involved with this. I thought the gasoline all came from the road district, it was his figure.
We track our figures for the buses. He tracks his figures for his usage.
And then who tracks for the assessors?
We track for the assessors. Because she's in under the general township.
Just using the average gas price, if you use your mathematical $2.53 a gallon divided by that total amount, gives you about 77.19 gallons.
It's probably about right.
Well, the assessor's numbers are so small.
Because they're only going in the township and they're using a car that it's very fuel efficient, you know, they're rather new vehicles, two of them.
I'm sorry, Mr. Melchol, what was that figure?
I heard trustee Supervisor Adams say that they had a fluctuating rate depending on the gas prices. So if it was $2.53, for example, on average for the gas. All I did was take that number, divide it into the 19,530 number, and I came up with 7,719 gallons.
And the next meeting will provide the exact gallons used for our logs.
And then the mileage for the buses.
What do the mileage have to do with anything?
Mileage has everything to do with it, because that's what the gas was supposedly being used for.
Okay, we'll give you the mileage, I have it.
When you say mileage, Craig, is that mileage per person? And those people are
You want
covering, are you double counting your miles?
Do you want mileage per vehicle per year? Is that what you're saying, Steve?
I want the total mileage of the buses. Okay?
So if a bus runs if one bus A runs 50,000 miles a year, that's what you want to know.
Yeah.
Because the mileage recording is the mileage of trips, and sometimes there's 2 or 3 people on the bus, so you'd be doubling your mileage, wouldn't you?
He's just
I
asking,
think what he's looking for.
he's just looking for the vehicle, the actual vehicle mileage. I get
Go
it.
by the vehicle mileage.
I got it. We'll give you the vehicle.
And I understand that the buses are used for repairs and other things where it's not really online, okay? That'll be a small percentage, I would think, right, Craig?
You mean driving them to take for repair or something? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very simple.
You handle most of the repairs.
Yes.
Yes, most of them are
It's
handled.
really just annual, it's regular maintenance is all it really was.
There is some times where, you know, if it's, I don't, if it's a Ford or a Chevy, there's a certain part or a certain expertise we have to go to the dealer for, but rarely, yeah.
So there can't be many repairs because the
There is
homes are pretty good.
There's not many.
So it seems to me that in order to get a fair idea of what the costs are, and assuming this is accurate, the parks have been overcharged.
You are correct, they have been overcharged. But it also includes our repair costs to Jim in there for his labor, for both of those agreements. He repairs some park equipment, he changes oil on some things, sometimes.
I think the gist of it is we try to get in the ballpark of approximate cost
Right.
between them, as opposed to wasting so much, too much time and effort. We use some judgment to try to save staff time. I mean, you can break it down to every nickel and dime, but when it costs you, $10 to find out $2, that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So when they first started it, they ballparked it. It seems to be relatively accurate cumulatively.
Okay, but
And it's not a benefit to either party, or any significant or substantial benefit to either party.
wrong. We're trying to figure out what the cost of these programs are, okay? What they are for the parks, what they are for the bus, okay?
Okay?
Now, the bus is getting charged $12,500 a year for gas and repairs. I didn't know about the repairs being part of it.
Well, we pay for our own parts, but Jim's labor is in there for both of those agreements.
Okay, so $12,500 is listed for parks, when in fact, it's only
Get it?
$2,500 and whatever it costs for the labor. So it's a difference. And by the same token, the buses, and we're trying to find out what the cost is, what the true cost is of each ride. It does matter that it's not $12,500, it's $19,500. Okay, yes, it's only $7,000 difference. But when we get the mileage of the bus, we'll be able to figure mileage of the bus fleet. We'll be then able to figure out if these figures make any sense. Okay? And yeah, I realize the township taxpayers are paying out the same amount of money because it's coming. But why should the road district budget subsidize the parks or the bus? I'm just trying to get things to the true costs, what they are. And it shouldn't require that much nickel and dime and breaking down. How much do you think it costs to maintain the parks, vehicles and so on?
It changes annually depending on how old the equipment gets. I have to sum it up. With your request, we've started to look at some software that tracks that kind of thing too.
You're looking for software, or you have
We
software?
are starting to look at software to start tracking all that. But that's not cheap. It's on the level of what the county does.
There's a thing, and I'm not disagreeing with Steve, I understand what he's saying, but there is a thing accountants call, you can track everything to the 5,000th decimal place, but it costs you more to track it than it's worth. So I'm not saying, you're not saying that in this case, I'm just saying there becomes a point, how far do you track that?
We're far from that point, okay? Mr. Aylward, do you have something to say about that?
It would be useless to say anything about it.
Hey, can I ask a question? Our budgeting timeframe, just so that we are all on the same page, these budgets have to be approved by when?
Final date is the end of June. The final date is the end of June, June 30th. That's the
30th.
last date for final adoption.
And
I would anticipate the board wanting to have some finalization as to some type of preliminary budget appropriation sometime in April, so that you can at least get it out there, get it out notice, have the publication, and have your hearings as well.
how far, so, because I haven't been here for the township budget, are you pretty well done with the township budget now, or where are you at with the township budget?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think the chairman's waiting for input from you. Are you okay with the budget they supplied, or what numbers do you want changed?
Well, there's changing, but I want.
It keeps,
I'm not saying we're okay with it. I'm not saying I'm okay with it.
Okay, Steve keeps asking for info. I assume you want more information before you go through that.
I'm just worried we're running out of time, so how do we try to move this forward? That's all. It's a conversation of not saying, you need to do this different, you need to do this. It's a conversation of how do we get to the deadline to where we can put the budget in place, unless we have some hidden goal, which I would assume you don't. Have some hidden goal of not approving the budget, that would be crazy. Is that what it is?
don't be insulting, okay?
Well, nobody responded one way or another.
Well, because you think your position's kind of ridiculous.
Well, that's what I thought. I think that'd be kind of crazy, and I would assume somebody said, yeah, that's crazy, we want to improve the budget. So what is the, how do we?
I think our position is we want to know what we're approving.
There's no agenda.
And we know once it's approved, it's out of our hands. And you know
I
that.
think what we're doing now is we're information gathering. Once we're done gathering information, I think the budget process will probably go a lot faster. Because there'll be no more questions asked,
Right.
okay?
Okay, so are we done with the township budget asking of questions now, or there's a little bit more yet, but we're pretty close?
We'll need
So
to-
where then we'll go through the budget line item by line item, is that what you're planning on? Just to get done, or so you can get through that?
I'm asking for how much a ride costs, okay? Now, there are a lot of costs that were never included into that.
Sure.
That's why,
What you're really looking for is how much does the ride cost for the township, but how much does the ride cost for the taxpayer, period? Which is what you're informing, so that,
It's
got it.
probably come out two different figures.
Yep, absolutely, I
and one would be
understand.
higher than the other,
One I
right?
was already was like
Because it should account for the
$21
$55,000 bust that last 3 years.
That's correct.
So take the 55, I get what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. The only other things that I would mention to you though is remember, those taxes they're gonna go in, and we can take advantage of bringing those taxes back here, or they go to the city of Chicago. So if you're going to pay the taxes, you may wanna take the advantage of bringing the taxes back. That's the other side of the coin, not that that's right or wrong, and not that I disagree with you that there are too many services, and the state of Illinois is a perfect example of that. Nobody's disagreeing with you. But if you're going to pay those taxes anyway, you may want to take and get as much of those taxes back as you can. Just keep that in mind,
I
that's
believe
all.
everybody on this board actually understands that.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to be lectured on that. I think we know.
Nobody's lecturing you, Bob, it's just another point of view. Nobody's lecturing you, it's trying to create a conversation so that we can actually be productive instead of arguing and being angry. You don't need to be angry, just work through it.
Okay,
I have an angry board,
let's move on. Steve, are we done with things you need for the bus for me, for this?
Mr. Supervisor, can I ask this one
Sure.
question? And I think Steve's asked some different things, and I think Stan hit it on the head as far as information gathering. Maybe just to put a time frame, if there's, and there may be new information that comes out of the next budget meeting.
Sure.
But if there's things that any of the trustees have top of mind that they would like to see or get from you, maybe they can get that request into you this week or something, so you could have it ready. You know what I mean, just to,
Yes,
so,
so we can expedite the process, yeah.
All right, so a revised budget. I realize this might be the third attempt with the township.
What are we changing?
What are we changing?
I need to know what we're changing. to
You
do
mean,
a
you want to,
revised.
no, wait a minute, I'm sorry, you want to revise bus costs is what you're asking for.
Not a revised budget.
Yeah, but if you're going to be.
I understand what you're saying, so we would change those costs in that budget area
Well-
if they went up, okay.
Some of this has to do with you, Mr. Ennis, because if we are going to increase the donation requested to parity or something more than we're charging
Okay,
now,
okay.
that's going to affect the bottom line.
You are correct.
So we have to know if you're gonna do that or
Sure.
how.
I would be happy to tell you right now, I will be planning on increasing the fare to $2, and I'll put that in the budget. The revised, third revised budget.
And how long have we been at $1?
Before my time, and it should go up, I agree.
Okay, because the county is doing a minimum of, how much was it, $5?
No, $3.
$3?
$3.
25 cents per mile.
But that was mandatory.
That's mandatory, that's.
Yeah,
something
okay, well, what I'm saying is what we need to do is maybe implement a time frame thing.
I would agree, I would say maybe $2 for next year, and then the following year we get to $3.
Yeah,
I would agree.
something, or 2 years
Or
from now.
something, yeah, I agree.
But have something in place where we're starting to
I-
bring in enough revenue to cover some of this.
Agreed, totally agreed, I 100% agree with you.
Well, it wouldn't cover it. It all-
No,
it
it
only
never
did-
will.
Right, it'll help bring in more revenue, it won't cover
So the taxpayers aren't subsidizing that.
as much.
And if we really aren't covered for the insurance, that'll affect the.
Correct. We will get all those RMAs that you requested.
Okay.
So we're just gonna do
So-
this.
I'd be ready to vote on it today if we were ready, okay? I'm not trying to stall.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, great.
And I realize this is maybe the first time in recent times that the Mchenry Township budget has been looked at this closely, okay? Well, you'd have to agree with that, right? You were on the board before.
I was.
So there weren't nearly as many meetings or requests for information or anything like that.
No, we have two different purposes in our budgeting. Our budgeting, from my perspective, is different than yours. There's no doubt about that.
Well, my purpose is to try and figure out what these costs mean, okay? Otherwise, we're just dealing in a vacuum. If it costs $75 for a ride, something's wrong with the picture, okay? If the cost can be cut, if we're doing things that aren't mandatorily required, okay, that's what I'm looking at. I'm trying to save the bottom line on it. Now, just for your information, Mr. Condon, Maine Township just cut it by $1 million.
Maine Township is a completely different township.
Yeah, I know, but
It's
what I'm talking about is that
comparing apples to oranges.
no,
here.
we're not. We're comparing a unit of government and what the costs really are. So if there can be an examination in Maine Township and an abatement, maybe there should be one in Mchenry Township. If Shelby Township gave $750,000 back to the taxpayers, which they did, okay, why can't we look at things closely in Mchenry
You
Township?
can look at things closely, but if you sit back and watch the questions that you're asking, you're continually going in circles, grabbing a piece here, grabbing a piece there, grabbing a piece there, and going
That's
in
because we
circles.
don't have all the information. I don't know about these logs until today. So you catch me in a jam of having to ask for the things that I don't even know what exists to justify these costs, which is preposterous. If there's documentation to back up the budget requests, your levy stayed the same, right?
Yes.
Okay.
What are you implying?
I'm not implying anything.
My levy stayed the same, so what was the point of that? What are you trying to say with that?
We didn't have any information on that.
Oh, you mean,
To make-
when we did it previously?
Right.
I see what you're saying,
So now we're getting to this. And I'm sorry for the clerk to have to be here. Maybe you don't have to be here. Is it
So,
so?
clerk is recorder of the minutes, he needs to be here.
But I don't think there's anything that I've asked for. It's picky you nitpick are ridiculous. These are costs. You just heard this PACE official say that she may not be able to live in Illinois anymore.
I think we're all in the same boat with respect to that. That has nothing to do with our
Okay, so,
conversations here.
so we're looking at things to cut, to see if it's really, we're getting the best bang for the dollar, to see if things, otherwise then just have Mr. Adams do the budget and approve it. Why are we even here if we don't have any input in it?
You do have input, but when you go around in circles and.
We're not going around in circles.
And you take, people have budgets that are 3 times the size that we've had here, and they go through it 10 times faster.
That is a crazy argument.
Okay.
That means because there's $10 million at stake, and yours is, and ours combined is what, 4 point something altogether? 3? That we should spend 3 times as much on the $10 million one than ours.
Okay, you know what, you both have your opinion, your opinions are valid. Steve, you get to ask for anything we want to look in this process, so with that, let's close this conversation. Do we want to go on, are we done with the?
I need to leave if you want to go to the township, I have,
Okay.
what to do.
What if we put Mr. Cannon on first at the next meeting, that way we can get to his budget?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, that's fine. Whatever's
No,
most
I was
convenient.
just gonna say, if you're on the township budget, why don't you try to get through the township budget next time while it's all fresh in your mind, instead of getting sidetracked onto ours. Go through the townships and be done with it, get through it, that's all.
Do on everything. Can I ask a question though?
Yes, you may.
The only change we're doing for the third draft is going to be the bus park?
Correct.
Is that?
That's my understanding, yes.
Because I know I stepped out.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay,
Correct
so we're
these-
just gonna be changing.
We're gonna
the
change those fuel
revenues
numbers and stuff.
And the fuel numbers.
And
Gotcha.
There may be some indication, just apostrophe indications based on some of the conversations as far as the cost of the insurance.
Right, so just on the senior bus park.
Well,
is what
no,
we're
the
looking at.
parks have to come into it too, because we
Yeah,
know.
okay, you're correct. We'll change the fuel on the Parks Department.
Okay,
But I was gonna present what I thought my cuts are gonna be, but now I'll wait till next Monday and come back. We're probably getting ready to leave right now, aren't we?
I would assume so, John.
It's 20 after, but.
that's
so-
fine, I just wanna
so
make
I would
sure that
think
I have
fine
what you guys
Steve
want
asked
for the
there, that
next draft.
Monday, you should hear what we want, looking at, agreement of the town fund.
We'd like an idea so we know where we're going.
Right.
Why don't you,
I wanted to present that day, but we didn't get to it.
Jim, why don't you make yourself available for like the last half of our meeting next week? You can do
Well, it starts
things.
at 9 o'clock, I'll make sure I'm here by 10.
We should be able to iron that out.
And if there's anything you think we need to see, then please bring it. That relative to your budget.
On a side note, I forwarded, you asked me about engineering fees and how much engineering fees, did everybody see that?
I can't see them right because my computer's down, so if you contact me, you gotta call me.
I sent you a figure over the last 3 years about how much we saved in engineering fees for me being here. It's about $50,000. Okay? The second thing he asked for was IGAs. I scanned and emailed those IGAs also.
I can print out those emails for you, we don't have to have it.
Okay?
But and also about your intergovernment agreements, but
Yeah.
we'll go over those next week.
Those were emailed to you, yes.
Well, I can't see them.
We'll get them for you.
Well, I got-
In other
I
contracts,
got my old ones, I wanna compare what he's got.
I don't know that we have any other
That'd be great,
contracts
I know
that I
Huh?
can
You
think
have the new
of.
ones?
Not yet.
Okay, good.
so, I mean, in terms of contracts of fuel, salt, or services,
I think I sent the county or the state salt bid to you. Otherwise.
but it's not really a contract yet, right? It's
Yeah,
just a
this is-
proposal.
This is our current contract, goes through, the middle of the summer, if I recall correctly. Or actually, it goes through June, that we're allowed to take the salt up to. We need to make a decision on whether we're getting salt through that same contract this year through the state, or perhaps, going on with the county's, And the county's bid, because they bid it out separately,
Well,
so,
I rely on you to come up with whatever is cheapest.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
you'll give us the recommendation of it.
This contract
And I
that
can't
you're
imagine
talking
we
about,
diverge from that.
and in the middle of summer sometime, are you purchasing your salt for next year in this contract?
Yeah, well, no, that's this year's salt supply that we have that we can purchase up to. We've already ordered all the salt, we just haven't received the last 500 ton of it. But we will be entering into, we'll be making a decision on how we're purchasing salt for next year.
So a lot of that salt, obviously, by the weather, you'll have for next year, correct? At 500,000,
That 500 ton?
500 tons?
Yes. We don't, I suspect there's
What do
probably 500 to 1,000 ton in there now, and we're gonna add another 500 ton, okay? And then we'll probably order, I think I have the numbers in here, I'll have to look at it again, but like 3,000 ton. In the past years, previous to me being here, we purchased in the 3,000 and 4,000 ton. I brought that down to 2,000 ton, but this year we need to do a little bit of catching up on our inventory.
Okay, if nothing else being heard, gentlemen, could we have a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make.
Oh, like, Mr. Elward would like to comment.
Okay, as far as your response to that, me not wanting to be here, it's not true. I find it very wonderful to be elected to the clerk and to fulfill my duties as a clerk. Part of those duties are to, when a petition comes in, to verify those, which I did. That's a legal petition in every sense of the word. And to be questioned about verifying those voters, if I didn't do that, I would not be fulfilling my obligation to this county. I did. Okay, I didn't show both pages simply because I didn't have to. What I was showing you was what the petition was for. You know, when it takes an hour and 45 minutes to approve a petition that is legal and checked out by our attorney, I verified those signatures, and then to take an hour and 45 minutes that's what frustrates me. Okay?
It took 25 minutes, okay?
It took 45 minutes. The whole discussion started at 5 after 7 and ended at 8.
We had to get to the bottom if the ordinance had to be on there.
And our attorney already, he knocked out 3 of the 4 petitions. He looked at them.
But we didn't get the ordinance that was proposed.
Okay,
that was part of the
petition.
I just got.
Dan, I understand your frustration. Mr. Greer, I understand your position. You can argue this in private, it doesn't need to be here. I had a motion to adjourn from someone, did I not? Who was that from? Mr. Rakestraw, do I have a second, Mr. Anderson?
Second.
All those signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed, meeting is adjourned.
I am printing out the emails that you guys have met.
I can't get them. I'm in the process of getting a new computer.
I am printing them.
Oh, here?
right
Oh, yeah,
now.
oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry. Oh, I missed it. Okay, very good.
Yes, that's what I'm working on right now, just so you know.
And hopefully you're feeling better, otherwise you wouldn't be here. We missed you at Thursday night's meeting.
Pardon me?
I said, you must be feeling better because we missed you at Thursday night's meeting.
I am feeling better, but,
Go on, Jim.
I just, for some reason, I have no idea why. Yeah, it's printing out as we speak, so. Let me go back and get those. That's 3 pages. Did Steve go? Did Steve leave?
I want to see if he did anything else.
Huh?
How about his knees are really weak, he said. When you sit down like that, I think it's awful hard for him to get up.
Did Steve leave?
No, this is the way. Oh.
No.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that he gets copies.
Steve.
And then,
What's the copy?
there's a copy for,
There's agreement copies.
Debbie, how can you do this so fast? See, you,
sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
maybe we should have it both.
Here. All right, then this is for you and Steve, or you and Mike. Is Mike with you?
No, he's going with Steve.
Oh, okay, then give Steve the second copy. It's the same thing. And then, let me get the copy of the IDs, and I'm working on that now. I guess everything else left. You don't need.
So you got copies coming out the other agreements, is that what you said?
Yes. Okay, 2 extra copies.
And the other contract.
Well, the other contracts he'll get, the ones he sent already were the IDs. So let me get you those copies.
So, one.
That's just 2 extra copies that I had. Let me go get the IPAs.
He wants to go home. Mike wants to go home. And he says his knees about him.
Oh, I guess that's about.
He's going to be hurt some more.